You're listening to episode 341 of the Major Issues Podcast, and the boys are back in town. We catch up with Billy Butcher and the bunch as we review The Boys Season 4. The Major Issues Podcast starts right now. Hello, everybody out there in comic book land. My name is George Serrano, aka The Don, and if you're listening to this, you can only be here for one reason. It's a brand new episode of the Major Issues Podcast, brought to you each and every week by ComicBookClique.com. I'm here to talk about The Boys, but I'm here with The Boys. I'm never alone. Sir, if you could please introduce yourself.
Is I, Alex Garcia, aka The Cog, and I'm excited to talk about this show. This season was crazy.
Other sir, if you could please introduce yourself.
I'm A-Train. Oh, sorry. All-Star Asa.
All-Star A-Train.
Here comes the J-Train. Oh, boy.
Sir. All-Star Asa, it's been a minute. I believe one of the last things we covered, ironically, was Gen V, the spin-off to The Boys. Now we are on The Boys Season 4, the penultimate season, because they will be ending the entire run of this show with Season 5. People have been talking about this show in many different respects since it's come out, but specifically this season has people on the fence. Before we get into our full recap and review of all things The Boys Season 4, I have to ask Alex, how did you feel about this season?
Fantastic. To me, this is probably the second best season to me, and I especially like how this season you saw a lot of growth from all the characters, whether it was characters going down into the pits of I say nothing short of hell, and even other characters even rising up. And that's what I love seeing in the show, especially considering some people have said that the first 3 or 4 episodes were so terrible, it was the worst show. There was so much controversy. But then you watch the last couple episodes, and it feels like for most people, it turned the whole show around. But for me, I loved every episode, had me at the edge of my seat.
Awesome. All-Star Asa, what are you thinking about The Boys Season 4, spoiler-free?
Spoiler free. It was fun. It started a little slow, but the slow was a lot of character development, and that's okay if you do it right. And I thought they did it right. And it definitely, much like the A-Train moniker I just took for myself, it started slow, but once they got going, it got going, and then so I couldn't watch it fast enough.
I'm a little bit in the middle with this. I really enjoyed what I saw, but what I'm starting to realize with this show is there are certain parts of this show that you put them on screen and I'm like, do 3 hours of this, and then there's certain parts where I'm like, can we get past a little of this here. Ironically, I went back and I listened to the Major Issues podcast covering Season 3, and I ended that season saying, it feels like we ended this right where we started this. And I kind of feel like The Boys has that problem. Now, fortunately, the next season is its last season. My biggest issue, I think, surrounding the show, and I spoke a little bit to you guys off air when we were coming up with the schedule for this, is that there's only so many ways they could keep Homelander out of distance. Right? And I feel like that's been the game since Season 1, right? This whole keep away, because if you kill Homelander, the show is over. And it's like, this season we were doing a lot of like battling for Ryan's soul. But we were also kind of like battling for Ryan's soul in the first season. And then like Season 3 was about like, Butcher, you can't be doing that just to kill Soup. So yes, I will. And then like this season is also like, hey, Butcher, you shouldn't be doing the virus stuff to kill. Well, yes, I will. So I'm liking a lot of it. I would say about 80% of this I absolutely dug, but there's a little bit of me that wonders how much story they have left to spin, because or there might even be a chance that this season was spinning its wheels because they want to do more in Gen V. Right now, we hear more and more that Season 2 of Gen V will be directly tied to this season, and we saw Gen V characters pop up uh, in this season of The Boys. So I almost wonder if they just didn't give us all the steak because the side dishes are coming, and that will be what takes place in Gen V. Still the boys' humor, still the boys' blood and guts, still the boys' deviancy on occasion. But I'm the next season. I have a little bit of my arms crossed because I want some definitive stuff and points taken off. This will be my only spoiler before we get into the full spoiler recap and review. Couple points off. No Queen Maeve. You can't leave the Queen. Can't leave the Queen out of this, man. Maeve was my girl, and I thought she'd pop back up, but she didn't. I think she's still alive in the universe. She just doesn't have any powers.
Yeah, I thought she was powerless. But
Yeah,
Kimiko got her powers back. So
that V, man. That V.
Yeah.
It gives you powers, or it does what it did to Simon Pegg. But we'll talk about all of that in this full recap and review. As you guys know, when we do these recap and reviews, we could spend hours on this stuff. This series is one of the chunkier topics that we cover here, hour-long episodes. So there's a lot to cover. But, we'll be zooming a little bit through this recap, stopping at various points to test how you guys felt about certain scenes, character development, and stuff like that. But we're going full spoilers moving forward. So if you have not seen The Boys Season 4, you can hit that eject button right now because we are getting into all of the nitty and gritty of it. In case you guys didn't know, The Boys, especially Season 4, is an American superhero TV series based on the comic book series by Garth Ennis and Derek Robertson. Developed for TV by Eric Kripke, the season is produced by Sony Pictures Television in collaboration with Point Grey Studios, Original Film, Kripke Enterprises, Kickstar Entertainment, and KFL Night Sky Productions. So, our show actually starts off with the boys on orders by the CIA attempting to assassinate our girl Victoria Newman as she makes a campaign appearance. Our heroes are hiding in plain sight and waiting on the signal. In the bathroom, Homelander finds a gray hair which unsettles him. Where do you guys think all this gray hair stuff is leading to? I'll start with you, All-Star.
I think Homelander's kind of built himself to be beyond humans. We've seen that a lot on camera, and then just the gray hairs are showing his aging and showing his humanization, which I don't think he's a fan of, especially when you have someone like was it Stormfront / Liberty / whatever she was previously, was living for roughly 100, 120, 130 years or whatever. But he seems to lack the longevity that she had.
I didn't even think about that. Yeah, she didn't show any signs of aging. The Cog. What do you think about old Homelander plucking out his pubes and putting them in a jar?
What's interesting about that is I saw it as when I first saw it, I thought of it as it's stress. That not that he was aging, that this is just everything is now piling on him. Because before he always had the team or other people working for him, or he could just push somebody in the right direction to work for him. Everything around him is not falling apart. So even the people who say they're with him aren't really with him, and he knows it. So I saw it as stress. Like, okay, my kingdom is falling apart, and I'm waiting to do my Julius Caesar, et tu Brute kind of thing.
Yeah.
So that's how I saw it. Because we never get an answer. Except like people teasing him about needing a toupee or something. But for all we know, that's still him evolving.
Yeah.
That's fair.
I thought it was pretty interesting because when we ended last season, he lasered that guy in the face. It seemed like he was above all of this. But when we get to like him coming home to the lab and stuff, I don't even the stuff where he talks about, like he still needs Sage. He still needs Stillwell. He still needs Stanley Edgar. You understand? Like he always still needs someone above him to kind of keep him in line and keep him in check. He doesn't seem to do well alone at the top. He is the most powerful and most well-recognized superhero currently on the planet in The Boys, and that still isn't enough. And then he sees things like these gray hairs, any flaw to the system, right? And it just kind of shows that maybe he's not the one for whatever job he thinks that he's been put on this earth to do. But the boys realize Homelander is there, and it surprises Victoria, who doesn't want to be linked with the Soup on trial for murder. Ryan is with Homelander, so Butcher offers to take Ryan to Grace, but Homelander intervenes. The boys break into Victoria's room, but are confronted by her daughter, Soup. She attacks, and Kimiko loses her arm. They escape through a window, and Starlife saves Frenchie, but Kimiko regenerates after hitting the ground. Victoria confronts Huey in a van. He threatens her, but she proposes a truce. Huey throws acid at her, and Butcher tries to shoot her, only to find out that she's invulnerable. Later at a CIA headquarters, Butcher reunites with Joe Kessler, an old friend who attempts to recruit him to take down Soups. Several things here. We'll start with our boy, Ryan. How you guys feeling about Ryan this season?
Oof. Ryan has gone through his own roller coaster, and I know a lot of people didn't like the flip-flopping with Ryan. A lot of people haven't liked the flip-flopping with Ryan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, you're right. I was just pointing at myself. I was just saying that.
You're saying you.
Yeah.
I'm thinking you're telling me. I'm thinking you're telling me my sound.
No.
I dig it. All right, and see, here's Asa. Are you a dad?
Yes.
Okay.
So several times over.
Several times over.
Still getting it right. Still working on it.
Yeah.
Yes. Keep working on it, baby.
At 4 or 5, we'll figure it out.
Well, as someone, no, seriously, do you have that? You have an abundance.
Yes.
Okay. So given that, do you have your days with your kids where it's like, man, one day you feel like the greatest parent, and the next day you're like, this kid hates me. What did I do?
Yeah, we have one pre-puberty, and I feel like, I'm the greatest dad in the world. There's never been a better dad than me. And then no more 10 minutes later, he'll get in trouble. And I'm like, man, I'm the worst. Like, he hates me. He'd push me in traffic if I got him 10 minutes on phone. So. Yeah.
So for me, I see this kid who his existence, because I've also been doing a rewatch. I'm like halfway through season 3. Think about it, man. This kid was born in captivity, finds out he's Homelander's son, finds out that his life is in captivity, has to then be, pucked around to all these different locations while questioning the politics around him. And he's supposed to, like, in this season, that's one thing I was a little annoying, because unfortunately the kid's age in the show, he looks like he's 13, 14 years old. But I think he's supposed to be like 10.
Right.
10-year-olds can't make these decisions, man. Yeah. And on top of that, to know he has this power in him and still trying to make these decisions, I totally get it. Because we all recently saw what happens when you make a kid lose his mind, right? Did you see Brightburn?
Yes, I have seen Brightburn.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, you can totally see that. So the fact that this kid is still going, at least looking around and kind of thinking about it, shows, okay, this is still a person. Because the moment he chooses a side, especially that bad side, it's a wrap. This is a bad place, man. Because Homelander's still controlled by the fact that something's in him that he needs, the people's admiration. Because the moment that dude decides, I don't care, it's over. It's over.
Yeah.
It's over.
One of the things that I when I was doing my listen through of our season 3 coverage of this show, one of the things I forgot is that Butcher told him, like, I don't like looking at you because you killed Becca or whatever. I forgot that was like a thing. So like, you start the season, he's like, yeah, come back with me, and I'm like, oh well, you kind of did tell him like that you can't stand his face.
Yeah, you killed your mom. I don't want to see you. Like,
bunch of mixed messages. All the stuff with Stormfront, right? The white genocide stuff that he randomly got told about. I thought all that was funny. I feel like, and again, maybe this is just me, binging this stuff and kind of forgetting other plot points. Feels like Victoria's been a little listless this season. I feel like they didn't really nail what they wanted her to do in this. And maybe in ways they didn't nail whether or not they wanted her to be an antagonist or not. And maybe that was the bigger thing. They didn't know whether or not they wanted her to be an out and out bad guy, and thus in flip-flopping, I never really understood how I was supposed to feel about her. Right now, they go to actively throw acid in her face and shoot her in the head. And I'm supposed to be rooting this stuff on, you know? And she did murder a ton of people in that congressional hearing. She murdered
Yeah.
all of those people in that congressional hearing. So, I'm on kind of the fence with her, but I was super shocked to see that she was this level of invulnerable, something that I don't believe was displayed previously. I'm like, oh,
So
she could take a bullet to the head and stuff. I love her murderous daughter. These like tentacles that can saw your arm off or whatever. That stuff is bonkers. So I really love the effect of that. I love the little baby arm that Kamiko does to try to reach out to Starlight. I thought that was really funny. Remind me of Deadpool.
I was gonna say that reminds me of your boy
Yes.
right behind you, Ace. I was like, oh man,
Mhm.
perfect
There he
timing.
is.
Perfect timing.
Yeah, it reminded me of Deadpool. And then I guess we could just address this early on. But did you guys have any sort of suspicion about this whole Jeffrey Dean Morgan, Joe Kessler stuff?
I had seen things online about it, and then once I saw some of the online rumors, I started like watching the character, like whenever he's on screen.
Yeah.
And so I, after seeing the online rumors, it kind of made sense because it very much seemed to be the case, but
Right.
I wasn't sure, until that key moment.
What about you, Cog?
Well, honestly, I'm gonna give you all the credit because you were the one who pointed it out to me. Up until you mentioning it, I never even considered
I was
it.
a madman. No,
Yeah, no, it was. Like you mentioned it, like I want to say around episode 2 or 3 to me, and
Yeah.
I was upset. Like, wait a minute. And then episode 4, I started paying attention to. Oh, wait a minute. He's only ever talking to this dude when he's by himself.
Mhm.
Why didn't I notice this before? I think it's because
Right.
as Jeffrey Dean Morgan as an actor, I love him to death. I loved him
Yeah.
since he was on Supernatural, and even when he did the movie The Losers, which is an underappreciated movie. Please
Oh,
go see it.
totally.
And so not the idea that he's not an actual character upset me. I was like, no. However, I like the way it turned. I was like, okay, this is cool. This is cool. This makes sense.
I don't know if it's like the Watchmen of it all, but he totally fits this universe. Like he totally
Yes.
fit. He's like gruff. He's the American, what the American version of what Butcher would have been. Like
Yes,
all
100%.
his stuff here. I love how they play off of each other. I would have watched a buddy cop series in this universe with those two going around, trying to take down
Just
soups and stuff.
murking people.
But as we find out, he kind of does represent the ruthless side of Butcher. This like play your friends, as patsies if you have to. Do whatever you have to accomplish the mission. It's I felt like Butcher was that in season 1. And then as he started to find out they had more skin in the game, that Becca was alive, that Ryan is Becca's kid, then he started to realize that he can't just go scorch earth, even though he may have changed his mind by the end of this season. But everyone's favorite, Ashley, meets with the Seven to discuss new recruits. That's another one that I have not figured out how I'm supposed to feel about this character. Are we supposed to be rooting for Ashley or nah? What do you got? What's your temperature on this stuff? Cog, you're saying no?
No, a lot of these characters, I believe they're just awful people. These whether on both sides,
Yeah.
even because unfortunately it's the whole idea of to defeat the thing, you become the thing, and then you just are the thing.
Are
So
the thing.
what's the difference? You know what I mean? So, and that's what you're seeing. That's what you're seeing. Oh man, I'm getting political over here. I don't want to.
No,
I
no, as we
It's-
go on, it's going to be impossible not to.
It's hard to toe the line right now,
Yeah.
especially with this
Because-
season.
because you're basically getting both sides of the extremes, right? Which is left and right,
Yeah.
and then you look at both sides. When you get to those extremes, you then you're lost. You have to. There has to be a middle ground, and that's what's happening
Compromise.
here, right? Right, and that's what's happening. If you go all the way this way or all the way this way, you're extremist, whether either direction, and that's bad. That's bad. So, and that's what's happening with the show. So Ashley, she's choosing her side. I believe just because of the way the show is, and they told it so well, you're watching these characters make what's going to be their ultimate decision with the last season coming. You know, A-Train going his direction, Ashley slow, even though she has many outs, she continues to go, nah, I'm going to go this direction until she finally makes the ultimate decision. We'll get to that later, but I knew it because I'm like, to me, if you do not have superpowers or a superpower comparable to it, at the very least, like the Deep, you should not be hanging around these people. Like, no.
Does Asa, do you think Ashley has enough rope to pull her out of the abyss, or she's just gonna hang herself with it?
I'll preface. I like Ashley. She seems like the particular version of ruthless that I enjoy in what you like a main character. Like think like Walter White, Dexter Morgan, willing to accomplish those goals. Not really erring on the side of caution.
Right.
But I also think that's gonna be the nail in her coffin, so to speak, or literally. So. I don't know. She's a fun. I really like the character. I think she's great. She grew on me on season 3, and then, so ever since then, I'm cheering her on.
Yeah, it's bonkers. She starts at such a low level in the show, in the very, very, very beginning, and I think she only rises through the ranks because everybody in front of her dies. Everyone above her just starts to get murked.
Doesn't Homelander go, "You're the new CEO," and it's like, all right. Well,
yeah. What are you gonna say?
Which to me, that's why I don't feel bad for her, because I'm sitting there going, these are what's called red flags, right? We like to talk about red flags nowadays. Like, you have your job because everybody around you is getting murdered or disappearing. I don't think that's a job you want.
Yeah, like at what point do you realize that you're Hitler's right-hand person, right? Like you realize like, well, I'm only got a cushy job because, I'm working for the most ruthless person in the fucking world right now. And, this scene doesn't help my matters. I should have probably not have brought up this argument during this because she's here to discuss new recruits. So they bring up this idea of bringing in Sister Sage, a genius, but Homelander just can't focus. He's just jittery as he always is. So as a show of power, randomly, he decides to make the Deep blow A-Train. So again, and Ashley seems to be relishing in this power dynamic. So maybe this wasn't the scene to bring up whether or not she deserves redemption or not. Again, the Deep is also kind of down. But I guess if it's that or death, I'm not going to put that in front of you, gentlemen, to answer. But very, very, very weird circumstance here. Obviously, it doesn't happen. None of it happens. But to show the lengths that the 7 is willing to go to show that they're loyal to Homelander. Yeah, it's a bit rough. It's a bit rough here.
I don't know as much as because they see this is where I think the whole reason even this scene happens is because of what I was going back to with the stress idea. Homelander recognizes, look, I'm surrounded by a bunch of people that the only reason they listen to me is absolute fear. There is no camaraderie. There is no loyal thing here. It's shit. If we don't do what he says, he can kill us.
Yeah.
Anywhere we go. So that's the only reason we're even around this person. But the only people that seem to relish in it are Deep, because Deep is so starved for attention for whatever reasons he's got. Oh my God.
Well, I think him is more validation because he got kicked off the 7 in season 1.
And
he's
now
just been trying to wiggle his ass,
Yeah.
wiggle his ass right up next to Homelander. And now that Noir is gone, like the original Noir, like he just has kind of like the best in. To who else is literally no one else is there.
But that's what I'm saying though. The only reason with Deep is getting closer and Ashley are getting closer because the ranks are diminishing. Right. They don't see the writing on the wall. Like, wait a minute,
they're not being promoted. It's a technical.
No. Yeah, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
It's like what's his name in Kiefer Sutherland in that show where he becomes president. Oh, they killed everybody else.
I'm the only one. Yeah, I'm the only one. You know, I came to work today.
right. You know, so they're those characters. I'm sorry to say it like this, but they're just too stupid to realize it. The only person in the room who recognizes and to me had one of the best story arcs ever is A-Train. Because he's only there because he's like, if I don't I want to be here to infiltrate this. I am now. We know where he's going,
Yeah.
and it reminded me of the character I was so happy his true colors came around despite everybody rooting for him to become good. Jaime Lannister. Jaime Lannister, if you remember Game of Thrones, everybody so wanted him to be a good guy, and the whole time I said, nope, that's still the douchebag that pushed the kid out the window so you can keep having incestual sex with his sister and manipulating a kingdom. Whereas A-Train is a product of drug addiction and just his own craziness of his backstory, who has truly gone through absolute shit to try to just become a better person, genuinely, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because again, I'm doing my rewatch and I'm like, man, A-Train really has been on a character arc. And there's a key scene that we'll get to where I was like, wow, okay, A-Train, I believe, is now a good guy.
I can see that.
Yeah, he's finally a hero in the traditional sense, or he's becoming the hero that we want him to be in the traditional sense of the word.
Yeah, especially when we find out how manufactured their quote unquote saves are. We start to question if he ever saved anyone ever before. If that reaction, perked up his ears and makes you think, have you ever, have you ever saved anyone? So Butcher meets Victoria at Vought Video, suggesting mutual assistance. She demands files from Huey as a gesture of trust because Huey has the files about her at the Red Room, proving that she's a soup. No one knows that she's a soup yet, so they're trying to out her. Huey's dad, Simon Pegg, has a stroke, and Huey rushes to the hospital to handle that. We'll get to that in a bit. Annie visits Starlight House and refuses to dress up as Starlight, preferring to support the cause as herself. And Frenchie has a moment with Colin from Starlight House, which Kimiko notices. She encourages Frenchie to pursue his happiness with Colin. Annie, I feel like as a character, was almost completely ineffective this season, and I don't know why in particular. I could see it being a characterization thing, where she's just tired and over all this and over, like, she's constantly been in the spotlight, the starlight. She's, since pageants as a kid, the Seven, the boys, all of it under the sun. But she's having a real identity issue here. She doesn't seem to want to be Starlight, or at least portray herself to be Starlight. She doesn't want to rock the suit, any of that kind of stuff. We'll get to a little bit of that stuff later. But I was really wondering, because I like Erin Moriarty as an actress. Obviously, there's the discourse online that's going on about possible change of appearance from season to season. Now that's what's kind of taking up a lot of the conversation around this show, especially around that character. And it's a shame, but I mean, people are watching and they get to have their opinions about art like anyone else walking around in a museum. I just hope that she's okay. I hope that she's all right. Because even our boy Mother's Milk, man, he shaved and lost a couple pounds, and I thought he was sick. Laz Alonso on here. And I was like, what's going on with y'all? And maybe they should have just said something early on, like, there hasn't been a lot of food, or they haven't been getting a lot of sleep, or something. And I guess you could just assume that, being the universe that they're in. But yeah, I'm not one to make big assumptions or big debates about people's physical appearance, but I do think that those two in particular had people a bit on the fence about continuing this show because they envisioned them a certain way.
Yeah, I mean, with regard to Erin Moriarty, yeah, it is sad because, again, on my rewatch, I'm noticing she has been doing this slowly. You get to season 3, and I'm rewatching it with my son. He caught it immediately because he hasn't seen any of season 4, obviously. So he's watching it. I'm rewatching it with him. And the moment season 3 started, he's like, she looks different. And I'm like, oh my God, yeah. Like, you could see the subtle changes in her face.
Yeah.
That once you get to season 4, it's just like, no, you kept going down that slope. And it's like you said, it's sad. It's sad because in rewatching seasons 1 and 2, it's like she's a perfectly beautiful, pretty girl. You know what I mean? So the difference is just like, why? And then
it puts us in a weird position as well, because according to her and according to the showrunner, she's had no work.
Okay.
And so how long can we say,
Okay.
how long can we say you did if she's saying she did it, right? We could say, and this happened with Michael Jackson. Remember Michael Jackson's like, I never, this is like a skin condition and all the other stuff.
Yeah.
You were like,
There's something.
come on, bro. Like, no, we're not, like, I almost think people would make less fun of it if she admitted it.
Right.
But the fact that she's so, she dug her heels in and is like, I have not, makes people want to keep presenting evidence that it has, which only does, or only, that ends up just cannibalizing the entire conversation about any of her performance in here, is because if we can't get past, if I'm looking at a tree and it's red and you're telling me that it's blue, then we can't have a conversation. We can't move past that right there because we can't even agree that we're looking at the same thing. So that's a shame. And then we had what they dangled in front of everybody for absolutely no reason, a bisexual Frenchie storyline, which he's shown signs of bisexuality in the past. I don't mind it, but the fervor that this thing drummed up, the absolute fervor that this relationship drummed up was astonishing to watch online. And I remember when I first finished watching the first 3 episodes, I messaged Dan, the comic book man, and I said, either Colin's not making it out of this season, or they're just gonna hook up Kimiko and Frenchie at the end of this. There's no way this is the relationship of the show, and all it's going to do is piss off everyone who spilled a bunch of digital ink about how they ruined Frenchie. I think that's ultimately what this was.
Yeah, I mean, of all the things that you bring it up, that was probably the least interesting to me, because it was just like, why are we doing this? Because this whole show has been, well, when are Kimiko and Frenchie gonna finally do whatever, get together in some way, shape, or form? And this just felt like you need him to do something, and this was the best something you could do. Because I mean, you didn't need to make it a bisexual story; it could have been anything in his history. Like, it
didn't have to be a love story.
It didn't have to be like, it could have just been like, yo, I killed this kid's family.
And now I'm just kind of like scoping him out to kind of figure out,
I think that's what makes it tricky, though, is the fact that he did kill the family, and the fact that he is, like, I guess, a bisexual man. And then and then he's like, oh shit, I'm sorry. Whoops. Oh crap, I'm falling in love with this person. And then it's like, oh, like this is literally a moment of growth, because now it's like, do you take your happiness, or are you going to be selfish with your happiness, like he's shown to have done in the past, just selfishness or just making bad decisions, or do you do the right thing and then telling and ruining this moment of fleeting happiness in this world that we don't really get much of. And
the happiness is built on a house of cards, right? Ultimately, because it started on false pretenses, and it's just Frenchie getting himself into more Frenchie stuff. I wish we knew. Yeah, I wish we knew, because they're very vague about all of the little Nina stuff and all of this. His background as, I guess, a contract killer for this lady, and like, I'm not 100% digging like the mea culpa of it all, like the constant. He's constantly whipping himself, man. He's constantly whipping himself, and then he gets down on himself, and then he gets on the drugs, and then he gets more down on himself. And I'm just like, that's why I think I like him and Kimiko together as an item, because I think that they kind of prop each other up. When you separate them, you get what you got in this show, which is him locking himself in prison and her stealing alcohol and killing a bunch of people at a convention. I really feel like they are the yin to each other's yang. But I think this is one of those things where they pushed each other away so that they could come back together. What was it? Or the love that you lost and then comes back, or something like that.
Well, in explaining it right now, it's like, this was totally the rom-com portion of the show.
Yes.
Where the two people at the beginning of the movie, I hate you, no, I hate you, we'll never get together. This is totally the boys' version of the recent, what's that, Sydney Sweet? Anyone but you, yeah. Right. Where it's like, oh yeah, we're pushing each other apart. I'm gonna have this whole other romance that's gonna also forward his own internal struggle of an arc, and also make Kimiko
Yeah.
question what she
Role.
wants,
Yeah, her role in
Yeah.
all of this.
as
Because
far
I
as with
think that's
Frenchie.
another thing. That's another thing I think about constantly too. Is this idea that the boys' mission is very like straightforward, and it takes a lot of angst to want to act on it every day. Angst that I wonder if Huey still has
Yeah.
for Robin. You understand? Hey, I know Butcher is still grinding his axe, but like, at what point do you surrender that entire war for just happiness? And I think that's something that even Mother's Milk was dealing with in this, right? This idea of like, well, I kind of have it good. I can just kind of break off right now and be like, it is what it is. Because ultimately, we talked about this when we were talking about the X-Men, right? Like, ultimately, you fight so that you don't have to fight anymore. If this ends up being your entire life, then what is that? Is that any worse than being a contract killer for Nina or working for the Shining Light, organization or whatever? It's really jacked up there. But this is one of my favorite scenes here. Homelander visits Sister Sage, who impresses him and annoys him with her insights. He asks for her advice on finding happiness, and she tells him to relinquish control. And he asks her to join the Seven, though she initially declines, weary of his intentions. He convinces her anyway by promising to heed her advice. I really like this character. I just like the confidence that she exudes. We do live in a world, like the Cog said, where everyone is walking on eggshells around Homelander. So to see somebody be like,
Yeah, whatever.
yeah, I get it, and you'll kill me, and okay, and then what? Like, that's all it is. Really, really, I really dug that about that character, but also I feel like she is a bit of a proxy for us at this point. She's seen everything in the show. We've seen everything in the show. She knows where things are gonna go because how predictable certain characters are, especially on the Seven. And I feel like we are kind of in that same boat too. And later, when she feels like she needs to dumb down the world around her, I know I have my ways of dumbing down the world around me when it gets a little bit too, when I'm too smart for my own good. Let's say, cheers.
Yeah.
Cheers, salud. So, the boys track Homelander superfan Todd. Remember him? He was Mother's Milk's. What do you call that?
Yeah.
His ex-wife's.
His ex-wife's
I
new
think- I
husband?
think-
Fiance,
no,
I
or
think.
boyfriend.
Were they married? Boyfriend?
I think are they still together at this point?
I think
Yeah.
I thought so because he tried to oh, we gotta whenever they do the birthday party or whatever.
Yeah.
He's still
He hit
trying
him.
to make
I think
his
he hit
move.
him.
Yeah.
He hit him.
He ends up yeah.
He hit him, but I remember because he was watching all that stuff on the TV. He was like, yeah, and everyone was like, oh no, Todd.
Yeah, Homelander.
Yeah. Surprising the Seven, Homelander thanks fans like Todd, and there's another dude there. I've never seen him before in my life. But then suddenly orders A-Train, the Deep, and Black Noir 2 to kill them. The only one to hesitate is A-Train. But the others comply like instantly. Noir complies super fast. Considering
way faster than he should have.
considering he just got this job.
Yeah, he's an actor.
Well, had he spoken up until this point? Because I feel like this is the scene where he first speaks.
I think afterwards.
I think
it's afterwards. He's like, "Holy shit! Are we supposed to do that all the time? Like anything he says?"
Because
crazy,
at this until that line that he says, you're supposed to think, did they resurrect this dude? Because spoilers for the source material, which has been spoiled numerous times already, and we know it's most likely not going this way anyway. Is that Black Noir in the comics is a clone of Homelander, who's the safety button for Homelander, so to speak.
Contingency plan.
Contingency plan, precisely. But we know that's not the case in the show, and I think this is the show's way of saying, or is it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Until he says these words.
I actually thought
that.
I actually thought that they were getting ready to make like Sam Noir, but also make Sam Homelander's contingency.
I agree. I thought Sam was Noir.
I thought it was going to be Sam from Gen V, but ultimately it's the actor who plays Noir regularly, which guy has to be a blast because normally he went 3 seasons without saying a word.
And then when he gets to show his face, it's another guy.
Yeah. So not great there. But Eric Kripke has gone on record of saying he is not interested in doing that arc, the contingency plan Homelander noir arc. And I think the most telling thing about it is that in the storyline, a lot of the bad stuff that we've seen Homelander do, it was the noir clone who did it. I don't think they want to give this Homelander an out. I think they're like, no, he totally did. He did it. He did all of it, and you should think about him in that light. So I think that that's interesting there. But yeah, they get Todd. They beat the hell out of him. And then Homelander goes to the courthouse for his trial. At his trial, there's a bunch of Starlight supporters and there's a bunch of Homelander supporters, and they're yelling at each other. So Sage incites a riot, throws some stuff that causes this big ass fight. The boys go in to try to stop the chaos. Frenchie goes straight for his boo in all this fighting. He sees Colin and he's like, I'm gonna go save that guy. Y'all do what you gotta do. I'm gonna go save that guy. Saves him, I think, kisses him, and then Kimiko's like, I guess those guys are good. But the genius part about this is, as this chaos is going on, Sage gets them to bring the beaten bodies to the riot scene to make it seem like Starlight supporters have murdered people in this, in this situation. And we see this all the time. Every time there's a domestic terrorist situation, every side is hoping it's somebody from the other side. So you can say, you see,
Yes.
it's those guys. And I told you they're always starting shit. And that's what it is over there. So this is a perfect kind of Patsy situation where they could be like, oh, you see, it's obviously the Starlighters. Those guys are all crazy. Homelander, it's Homelander or bust in this kind of situation. So hell of a plan. But, A-Train receives the orders to bring the bodies to the riot scene. He does. MMC's Todd. He's like, oh, that sucks. Police clear the area. Public opinion turns on the Starlighters. Homelander ends up celebrating at home with Ryan. I think this is the milkshake scene where he's like, hey, buddy. And Ryan's like, what about Butcher? He's like, yeah, now you don't get no fucking milkshakes. Like, you don't get no milkshakes for you now. But all we really want to do at the end of a long day of murdering, we want to go back to our loved ones and just kind of unravel. And that's what the Deep does. He goes back to meet his girl Ambrosius. Just happens to be an octopus. This man does not care about the allegations against him for fucking octopus. He has now fucked and eaten multiple octopi in this. But Ambrosius is in here, voiced by the wickedly talented Tilda Swinton. So I thought that was a get. I was like, what a get here.
Love it.
And yeah, he just like tells, just confides in him, and like she has like these grandiose plans for their future. And he's always kind of like side checking her of like, yeah, we'll get to that. I gotta go to work, whatever the fuck. And I'm like, bro, you're leading on an octopus. You can't even be emotionally courageous enough to be like, no, to an octopus. Like even that, it just kind of shows you where his mentality is. He cares more about what people think he is than what he actually is.
That's been his downfall the entire show, and that's why this he's just an idiot. You realize more and more. You're I love the fact that his name, the deeper
there's nothing deep about him. He's shallow as hell.
Yes,
exactly, and it just perpetually shows how dumb he is. It just reminds me of like Pinky and the Brain, where the brain is constantly talking to Pinky, hoping that one day he's going to understand him. And it's just like, Nerf, it's never going to work out. This guy's dumb. Dumb. His saving grace is the fact that he has powers. If he did not have powers, oh my God. He might be a Derek Zoolander at most.
I will say, while he has been portrayed as dumb a lot of this series, he's also been incredibly portrayed as malicious, more so in this season than I think anything else. I think a lot of times in the past you could argue, well, he's being tricked by this, or he's being pulled in this direction, or he doesn't know better. In this one, he at various points actively chooses violence, chooses to hurt people that are weaker than him, chooses to kill people.
Yeah,
and he's turning that corner, where he's like, he thinks that that's the only thing that's going to get him, I guess, accepted in the 7.
Yeah, it's like almost he's starting to embody what the Homelander's values are. He's just taking on that what he sees from him, and he's using that.
Yeah.
He copies. This is not a person that has an original thought, right?
Yeah.
He from the very beginning, the whole fellatio thing with Starlight was probably something he copied from somebody else. It was probably something that was done. Then the whole him feeling bad, he copies, the Archer guy, and then goes down the church path.
Oh, the Scientology. When he jumped
Scientology, right?
Scientology, I forgot about that whole arc.
He just copying. Then like he's trying to do the redemption thing because he's again just copying. And now that he's back next to Homelander, he's copying Homelander, right? Homelander's like, wait, Homelander abuses me. So how do I continue to survive? I abuse everyone around me. And gets Noir into the fold of it all. Oh man, you're just supposed to do this, bro. It's fine. You get murder boners, man. It's great. Me and Noir,
Murder boners.
He just makes up relationships. Everybody knows that. Well, not everybody. We as the fans, we know like this. He was the low man on the totem pole on the team, but yeah, he constantly tells everybody, "No, me and we're total bros." A Train's like, "I hate you." The original Noir had no relationship with anybody. He was a murder machine. So the fact he's like, "No, we used to hang out all the time." No, you didn't. You lying bastard.
And you would think he would have learned after all, like after all this time. You would think that he would. I guess like he's just being selfish in this moment. He also feels like
I strongly believe he's one of the ones that's going to get it bad in season 5.
And hopefully it's Starlight that does it.
I can see that.
That would be full circle, or a gang of octopus. I
So if Starlight and a gang of octopuses team up and kill the Deep.
Yes.
Chef's kiss.
You can't write something more poignant than that. So Huey stays with his dad at the hospital, and boom, 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 his mom shows up. She has been missing for quite some time. Having already stolen Huey's flash drive with Victoria's file, Butcher ends up being haunted by Becca's memory. Gentlemen, this is one of my pet peeves. I hate ghost conscience. It's just one of my pet peeves. Some people's is time travel. Some people's is flashbacks. Me, I was just like, maybe because I dealt with it on so many other shows, especially superhero shows. They do it a lot of times in superhero shows. Yeah. Again, we already have Frenchie whipping himself. Starlight's kind of whipping herself. Now Butcher's gonna literally have the embodiment of his wife being like, "Come on, you're better than this." I love the actress. She played Patty Spivot in The Flash, and Barry should have wiped that up.
The best part of the Flash.
Barry should have wiped that up, man. Look what happened now. Going down the wrong road. But when he realizes that this is not something that Becca would have wanted, he sends Victoria Newman a picture of his butthole.
Yeah, I totally love that. But I personally like the personification of the conscience because, like you said, everybody is now going down this inner turmoil, and everybody's manifesting it in different ways. Frenchie's dealing with it by having a relationship, right? And or even a love triangle that Kimiko isn't aware of. What the hell? Why have I lost my train of thought? With Huey, Starlight. Her thing is the fact that her powers aren't working, right? That's her inner turmoil, like because she's not right, so her powers aren't working. Now, the way he's manifesting it is that the one thing that was keeping him in line was his wife, right? The idea of her memory, and then finding her, and then seeing her die, then coming to terms with the fact that okay, it was really is not Ryan's fault. Taking the V, everything his body's going through, like this dude looks like he's decomposing, man. Like, and what do they say you experience when you're dying? You see your whole life. What was this man's whole life? His wife. That's his whole motivation for what he's doing. So to see she's like his angel manifesting and trying to keep him on that right path so that they can meet together in heaven, right? But that's what's keeping him in line.
I don't know if Butcher's going to heaven, but
Yeah. This is based off the first 3 seasons, probably not.
I mean, and then this one here, like
And
this is the kicker. This is the one that's gonna make sure he goes in the very hot
and then
place for a very long time.
pre-show.
Yeah,
No, I think the ghost conscience. I think if it's written well, it's okay. Or it's it's a yeah. I think it's a passable idea, only because that's the way we kind of get to see how he wants to rationalize, as opposed like it's kind of like when you read a book and they're like, oh, so and so thought this and so on and blah 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 blah. But you can't really do that in
Yeah.
TV shows or movies. So having the character just explain it, it's like, oh, okay, well, I mean, we wouldn't know that unless it's given to us directly, as opposed to him going like, well, who's not really ever really done a nice thing for anybody.
right.
Where it's
All
just
of a
like-
sudden, flipping on a dime.
Yeah,
and
he's just like,
I should be
you
a
know
good
what?
guy.
I'm
All of
gonna
a sudden,
not do that. Yeah, so
right.
I think if it's written well, it's okay.
Ultimately, throughout the series, I didn't have an issue. It was the introduction of it that I was like, "What are we doing?" But ultimately, throughout it, I thought it was interesting. But I thought it was more interesting when he would have these full-on conversations, and I have other people in the room, and everyone else is like, "What the fuck is this guy doing?" Well, who won?
If it isn't the invisible cunt.
Yeah,
Yes, it is.
look who won a coupon for the blowjob factory or some random. So, there's a new movie coming out, guys. Training A Train is coming out.
I want to see it. I
I'd watch
want
it.
to see it.
I'd watch it in a heartbeat.
It's a blind spot-esque film surrounding A Train, starring Will Ferrell of all people. I love that they got that get. That was very funny. We see them on the set of it. It's very pandery. It's quite obviously just like not what this man lived through. And you can tell that A Train is just over it. He's clashing with the director. He's clashing with the director about the events of his life. And the director is still like trying to fight him on like, no, bro, this is where he's like, come back, come with me to the suburbs. He's like, let's leave the hood. You don't gotta be slinging no crack. Like, this is all of this is ridiculous. And this is when Black Noir comes up to him and is like, yo, bro, I'm feeling kind of bad. Like, should we just be doing whatever the fuck? And he's like, don't fucking talk. That's your job. Like, the one thing you don't do is fucking talk. And he walked away. Huey learns from his mom that his dad left her power of attorney instead of him. Strange. Is that something that just happened in marriage and he just never changed it?
It is possible. It does happen, and I mean, we do get an explanation later.
Yeah.
As to why.
Yeah.
But I've seen this happen where people get divorced or whatever, and they just never change certain things either out of neglect or because they feel like, no, that's still the best person for this.
Yeah.
I think
he's right. Like that she should have been the person, because Huey's not he doesn't seem to be at this point the guy that, would make the best decision. He'd make the Huey decision.
yes.
Well, right.
As he does.
And that's kind of a representation of Huey's inner turmoil, right? Because this whole time, his dad doesn't know who he's become. His dad still sees him as the guy working at an electronic repair shop kind of thing. He doesn't know about all this clandestine stuff that has led to him getting buried in people's guts on a regular basis.
Yep. They want us to out and out dislike this mother figure because of what she's done to Huey. I'm a little bit on the fence. I don't know her. Huey obviously harbors a lot of abandonment issues, as he should, given the way she left. She has an incredibly compelling story, though, as to why she took off. So we'll get there when we get to the hospital. But Frenchie wakes up with Colin after a night together while Kimiko storms out of a therapy session. Butcher reveals his terminal diagnosis, prompting MM, now the de facto leader, to demand Butcher leave the group. Vaught's PR team pitches Ryan's debut as Homeboy. I thought that was so tonally off. Like, how do you not know this is bad? Like, how do you not know that Homelander, the Homeboy? Absolutely ridiculous. Those pitch meeting stuff always cracks me up, though, because I imagine this being happening in Hollywood behind closed doors, at Disney, all this kind of stuff. It's happening at Marvel with some of the Spider-Boy stuff that's going on, So they're like, yeah, Homeboy. But I like that Sage is like, well, he's gonna have to stand on his own if we really want to do this. Like Luke didn't have his parents around, Harry Potter didn't have his parents around, so Ryan can't be, in the shadow of his dad, kind of stuff. And that's the beginning of Homelander kind of being like, oh, maybe this Ryan stuff isn't my key to my happiness, which is all he ever saw. He saw Ryan as a vessel to pour in love and get love out of. And when he stopped serving that purpose, we see how quickly Homelander can flip. And also, I don't think MM's a great leader of the boys. He's just too emotionally tied and all this kind of stuff, and he talks real tough to Butcher. Yeah, too rational in an irrational world.
Well, I from the just if you remember the first season when Butcher goes to recruit all the members, he kind of recruits MM because he knows he's the conscience.
Yeah,
and that's what he serves. He serves as the person to keep Butcher in line. But Butcher's the guy that still makes everybody get shit done.
Yeah.
MM is too busy being a conscience. Like, well, we should get this done. But, questioning himself and how's he going to react. And you see eventually what happens in this season to him underneath that pressure.
Yeah.
And so to me, it just plays to what he is. He's got a conscience. He's not Butcher. You need to get this kind of job done. You need Butcher.
Yes.
Not to get into gender roles too much, but it's almost like he's the mom and Butcher's the dad.
Poor Huey.
Or Huey.
No,
or
poor Huey.
Oh, poor Huey. Yeah, poor Huey.
Because
the canary in the coal mine.
Yeah,
yes,
he's the canary.
He's 100%. He's the canary in the coal mine. Speaking of which, the boys investigate the murders of Homelander's fans and discover Sage will be at a Vought event. They plan to crash it while Starlight and Huey stay behind to confront A-Train and stay close to Huey's dad in the hospital. At this event, this is that big conspiracy con or whatever. The boys run into Butcher. Well. They see conspiracy booths and anti-Starlight propaganda, but Sage particularly attends a panel hosted by Firecracker. Firecracker is doing all the dog whistles we've ever heard on any of these reactionary stuff. She's talking Pizzagate stuff. She's talking space lasers. She's talking everything under the sun. Taco Bell and Starlight are working in tandem to traffic children or something or other. I can't remember exactly her accusation. What do you guys think of the character of Firecracker? I'll start with you, Asa.
Amazing. It was such an amazing caricature of, certain members of Congress who may or may not be listening because they've been known to listen to people that don't agree with them in order to gain angry favor. But yeah, such an amazing character because they're so dumb. I think that's the nicest way I can put that without this becoming a mature only podcast.
So that's Valerie Curry plays Firecracker. What do you think about Firecracker, Cog?
I like the evolution. The initial introduction is very much like, who is this dumb in Butch's words? Who's this dumb cunt?
Yeah.
But I like how she's not like the Deep. She's not just somebody who's dumb and vicious because she's dumb and vicious. There's something there. There's layers to her. And as you get through these layers and you find out, no, this chick has a plan. I dug that about her. It made her interesting to watch, to see, okay, what's her end goal? What is she hoping to achieve? And even in seeing that, how she herself is kind of just goes through this bell curve of a hero's journey on her own, that I'm curious to see what's going to happen to her next season. You know, because I'm like, I'm not saying I feel bad for her because you chose your side, but her arc is very, very interesting, especially considering what she goes through. What she goes through in order to like, this is someone who had a clear goal plan. Like, I applaud it. Especially considering how quickly she did it. Other people in the show went through seasons to get to where she's at, and she's just like, nah,
right there on the right hand of the seven. Yeah,
quick, fast, in a hurry.
Sage at the beginning, she's like, well, what do I do? And Sage was like, I'll tell you what to do. Like you can become, you can just
Yeah,
breastfeed him or however she worded it. Like
yeah,
you can be his mommy.
Right.
yeah.
And she really took it to heart.
She did, and I do like that. Even with all of her ignorance, we'll call it, she does say that she knows that a lot of what she's saying is not true, that she's
Right.
giving meaning to people who are looking for something to blame, which I do think is what a lot of reactionary media does. If you're glued to your phone all day and you see all what you perceive injustices going on in the world, all you need is somebody to tell you who to blame. And all of a sudden you have an answer. Oh, okay, it's all because of those people. That set of
Right.
people is what's ruining this world, and we need to get rid of them. Um, so I do like that there's a little bit of intelligence behind her plan. She has a little bit of Stormfront in her, if,
Right.
with this whole like
Right.
mobilizing an army kind of stuff with propaganda. Butcher and MM argue because Butcher's not supposed to be there. They get into a fight. I think MM knocks his ass out or knocks him down or something like that. Kimiko finds a child trafficking booth, so she flips out, gets drunk, vandalizes the booth. Frenchie pulls her away. Huey and Annie witness A-Train's confrontation with his brother Nathan, who exposes A-Train's lies. She's like, you weren't selling crack? Like, what is this movie about? You do all this random stuff. You don't even save people. And because he's there in front of his nephews. And he's like, you don't even save people. Like, don't come around my nephews anymore. A-Train provides evidence to clear Starlight's followers of the murder, like right after this, because I think he realizes that by looking at his nephews that he has lost sight of what a hero is, or what a hero can be. He's tired of hating himself, something he'll end up saying later on in the show, that he just hates himself. And this is his road to get to there. Ryan's they decided the best way to kind of debut Ryan is to give him a solo save, where he can save somebody on his own. So first they do a couple practice runs, and then they do like the real run. And I think everything's going quite fine until Homelander shows up. Homelander shows up and is all about, I'm here now. It's time
Right.
to get everything saved or whatever. And that was not in the script. This is supposed to only be a homeboy thing, but Homelander decides that he's going to steal the spotlight. In doing so, he kind of messes up the save. Ryan accidentally kills his stunt coach. And Homelander's like, hey, smile, smile. You still save the little girl, smile. So his kid learns to smile through the murder. So I thought that was a lot there.
Yeah, I mean, this is exactly why I felt the way I feel about Ryan. Think about just in these first, this is like the second episode. Just in
Yeah.
these 2 episodes, think about how much stuff has been thrown at him.
Mhm.
He's sitting there in these, and especially considering everything. I think again, like this show, I don't know if it timed itself perfectly, knew what was going on. It reminds me of what's that show that documentary that came out about all the Nickelodeon crap.
Oh, Quiet on the Set.
Yes.
Quiet on the Set. It reminded, like, you could totally see Ryan being like one of those kids. Like, you sit there, and as much as you're in it, you're not. You're just a tool. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
he's sitting there being told, yeah, you're going to be homeboy. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. And you can see his face is like, can I just do my homework and just be a kid? You know? Oh, now I'm going to do a fake save? Okay. All right. And now I'm going to splatter someone across the wall.
God.
It was... And even like the moment the dude said, "Oh, I can take it. Oh, I can take it. I can take it." Like, no, you can't. No, you can't.
That's the Drax, remember, with the gun?
Yeah.
Shoot me, I can take it. No, he can't.
Yeah.
Like, so to be even without Homelander there, I still felt like this dude was gonna lose an arm. Like, no, don't tell, Superboy to hit you hard. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I totally wanted it to be like, hey man, this is gonna be like WWE. It's gonna be well orchestrated. You're not gonna touch me. I'm gonna fall. I'm gonna totally take a solid bump for you. Don't touch me. But these are these people who like swear they're just as super enabled as the people they're with. I'm like, no man, you're human.
I thought he was a super because he was like, oh, don't worry, I can take it. I'm like, oh, he's probably durable then. Like he probably has the best possible job. And then you see him become a bug on a windshield. And it's like, oh yeah, no, you didn't have any powers. And if you did, they were not the kind you needed.
And it's
Like,
also this
Not enough.
it's also this issue about like this is supposed to be in Homelander the person that he trusts. I mean, this goes to the idea of just being a father in general, right? Like this is the person that's supposed to teach you the rules of the road. It's kind of tells you what kind of temperament you're supposed to have, and he's actively telling him you can kill people and not like just shrug it off, you
Right.
know.
Right.
And if this is the only person around that is seemingly his guardian, because he doesn't know how he feels about Butcher yet, his mom's long gone. This is the person that his mom, in his mind, laid with to make him. He's just trying to kind of fall in line, and this is a very dangerous line to fall into.
Right. I mean,
Yeah.
have either of you ever read Miracle Man or
I have read
yeah,
Miracle Man.
or
Yeah,
I have
Marvel
not.
Man? That's what this reminds me of. This reminds me of like a
Kid Miracle Man.
more, yeah, more twisted version of it. And I could
Yeah,
totally see that season 5 being the culmination of that.
I can see that too. The boys fall into a trap set by Stage and Firecracker. They get attacked by the many, the all-in-one Splinter, who is
Yeah, you missed a scene.
Firecracker
Like,
sim. Oh yes, 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 yes. So sorry, so sorry, so sorry. Before before they fall into this trap, they are trying to follow Sage's the simp for Sage, the guy who works behind the scenes and is rocking her t-shirts and getting everybody to come through. And ultimately what ends up happening is they open a door that he went into. When they go in, he's in like, is it a sauna?
Man,
Yes.
it was a sauna human centipede, man. It was
Yes, he was eating his own ass. Is basically what it was.
he was eating multiple of his own asses. It was
Yes, and in doing so, seemingly contracted pink eye, which is a whole nother situation going on there. But poor Splinter, he's naked, he's fighting the boys, getting murdered, getting killed. And I like the whole idea, like you kill the Prime, you kill the Alpha, they all die, the rest of them die.
Mhm.
So that was pretty cool. That ends up happening. And Firecracker manages to escape. Ryan is devastated by the accidental killing, but Homelander's like, these people are bugs. Like, they're roaches. Like, would you be scared of roaches? And he's like, yeah, I totally would be scared of roaches. Like, what kind of fucking question is that? Inspired by A Train, Annie embraces her role as a political symbol at a Starlight rally. Frenchie relapses and confesses to Sherry about seeing Colin. She reminds them of their past, urging him to back away as he should. Kimiko has a lead on human traffickers, so she's about to go set her sights on that. And Butcher seeks MM's help to save Ryan, and they make this scene like it swells with like power, and then like MM's like, "Yeah, you're on your fucking own. Like, fuck you, you're not on the team. You're on your fucking own." So he rejects the offer there. So Butcher seemingly is on his own. At a rally, Homelander introduces the new Seven, Firecracker and Sister Sage, joining the team. He forces Ryan up on stage as well and forces him to smile. Butcher gets a sedative for Ryan from Kessler, which I guess didn't happen. He just sat there and made cookies with himself. And he plans to take Ryan to a safe house. During the Seventh press conference, Homelander clashes with Firecracker's conspiracy theories. Sage criticizes Homelander for putting her in the spotlight. I think he did that on purpose. She's saying that she wants that, fame is a trap. And, she's kind of putting him right there on Front Street with all that kind of stuff there.
right. I mean, this is where I was starting to feel like they want to make Homelander almost slightly, what's the word, sympathetic, right? You're like, oh man,
Okay.
he's a product of his upbringing. You find, because we know how he has no childhood. He's a test tube baby. We've seen this. And he even, I mean, think about how many times have we seen Homelander not in his costume? There was like one time where he was naked, and that's when he was at one of his lowest, and he quickly gets aroused again when he finds out he's up in the points. That was like in season 2 or 3. And then
Yeah.
even this season, the fact that he went undercover to find Sage, he humbled himself, right? At one point, he called himself a god.
Yeah.
He compared himself to Jesus, if you remember. And he goes to her apartment and gets her help and basically goes on her terms. But since that time, he has gotten some acknowledgement to his abilities. So now he's like, wait a minute, I can outsmart the genius of the world. So how
All,
can I make sure of that? I could put her out in front, which she
all
had
of it,
wanted.
all of a sudden he doesn't. He needs her, but again, like you said, just a little ounce more of confidence, and he can do what he wants with her. I know you said you didn't want to be up front, but you're gonna be up front.
Here you're going to be a front, and that's going to help me control you. But I
Yeah.
love where like you could, knowing where it goes now, you can backtrack it and go, man, this was all part of the plan.
Yeah, but it almost goes to show how desperately predictable
Right.
he is.
And it's
He
the
is
only
utterly
reason why
desperately predictable.
it's the only reason why everybody's not dead on the show, which is why for me, I know you've talked about how the whole get Homelander thing is kind of boring, or it's like, when do they get Homelander? They can't get Homelander. There's nothing to
But I feel like it's always been this thing where it's like Butcher builds a bomb to kill Homelander, but it could kill a couple people. So he wants to kill Homelander to the finale, and then he goes, "Oh, I can't do that. I'll kill other people." And then he stops. And then the next season, it's like, we got a gun that could kill Homelander, but if you shoot him, you might shoot the person behind him, and that might kill him. I don't give a damn. We got to kill Homelander till the finale. And then he goes, "Oh, I can't. I can't. Becca's telling me I can't." And now we have a full-on ghost restraining him from doing this. And now, but as every season ends, it ends the same way, with him looking menacingly at the camera because he has a new plan to kill Homelander. But when we get to the end of every season, he doesn't kill Homelander. So that's my main beef with it. It's like, I rather them not tease it until they're so close that they do it. It reminded me, I say this often, of Jessica Jones season 1, where they kept catching Kilgrave, and then he would have to escape.
Yeah.
Because if you caught him, the series is over. And then in season 2, her mother kept getting away, and then they kept getting her. But if you got her, then the season's over, so you have to let her get away again. They just have to play keep away a little bit, so I can't notice that that's what they're doing. Once I notice that that's what they're doing, then I'm like, okay, I have a little bit of an issue with it.
I don't. As much as they've teased the ability to kill Homelander up until what comes about this season, have I never felt like, oh yeah, that can kill Homelander. You know?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Soldier Boy was right there.
Well, but then, they never seemed close up until Soldier Boy.
And the Soldier Boy stopped because of Ryan, right?
No, he stopped because of Maeve.
Yeah. Maeve joined the fight.
No, but I'm saying that whole fight happens. Isn't Homelander there, Ryan there, Butcher there, Maeve there,
everybody's
Soldier
there.
Boy's there. Starlight's also there because I know she gets fucking thrown around, put through a table at one point.
And then he realizes through, for some reason they're having conversations when they fight, that like he essentially Homelander's son, and he's like, oh, I don't want to kill him now. Yeah, he's my kid. I can't kill him. And that's now the big bad is no longer. It's always
so he turns on the boys, and then Maeve has to take him out, and they jump
pretty
out
much
of a window, or whatever.
And then she loses her powers on the fall.
Right.
Yeah.
And then Homelander. It's almost as if Homelander's always like the main antagonist, but they add another antagonist midway through. So we know, that's
what I'm saying. And then you get to the finale, and it's like, okay, we gotta kill Homelander. Then it's like
Homelander, but Homelander the bad. Like, is he the villain?
But Stormfront,
is he?
But Newman, but Stanley Edgar, and and I can totally agree on that, since I also believe that I think possibly what also stuck in my craw is that one scene where Butcher and Soldier Boy are whooping on him. They basically have him dead to rights, and he flies away. So you got his ass right there. He should have whooped his ass at the orgasm. Sorry, Herogasm.
Herogasm. I mean, that's something that there are so many other instances in this show where I felt like, why doesn't Homelander just laser people?
Yeah.
Like there were so many times where he had Butcher, or he had Huey, or even MM in a situation where it's like, or even the fact that there are seasons where Homelander has blatantly been able to find them. So it's like, well, why don't you find all of them like this, or find any of their?
That's why you got to be careful with a Superman kind of character, right? Because if they have super hearing, then they always have super hearing. If they have super smell, then they always have super smell. So why isn't it working in certain instances? Right. One could say he's not focusing, and he's also a freaking sociopath. So maybe there's some mental health issues there, not clicking with the serotonin in his brain to get him to what he needs. But Annie and Huey talk to a lawyer. Guys, no help. Frenchie visits the Starlight HQ and is injured by a conspiracy theorist, but tended to by Colin. This is like ripped from the headline stuff.
It was Pizzagate. He
Yeah,
was like,
this is-
"Where's the basement where the kids are?"
People have done this. People have attacked places they thought had a secret basement full of kids because they heard it on some conspiracy.
Because of
Yeah.
firecrackers.
The firecrackers. out there.
Various firecrackers.
It only made me think of Pee-wee's Big Adventure. It made me think of the Alamo having a basement.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I remember
That's
that.
it.
President-elect Robert Singer holds a meeting excluding Newman, who crashes it and supports banning soups from the government. Kimiko proposes taking down the Shining Light trafficking group, and Frenchie reluctantly agrees. MM plans to flip A-Train, which Huey and Annie oppose. My favorite part of this scene is MM as having... First of all, I'm a little ticked with Annie this season in general. She doesn't want anyone on the team because she doesn't think anyone is... A lot of people have done bad, but everyone's done bad. Like, she doesn't want to flip A-Train. She doesn't want Butcher on the team. Every time she sees Butcher, it's an argument. They start going back and forth the whole time. And I'm like, we got to like settle this because, you know, bigger fish to fry kind of stuff. But they're having this full-on argument about A-Train and whether or not they should be on the team. And Kimiko and Frenchie just start walking towards the door. And MM's like, all right, go where the hell you want to go. And then I think they both flip him off. That just shows like how like not on the same page the entire team is. But also, I don't think they would have done that to Butcher. They wouldn't have done that to Daddy. They did it to Mommy.
That's
They
right.
didn't do it to
That's
Daddy.
right. I mean, you need Butcher. It's just what we're seeing. Starlight. I think it's because, as we find out in this season, one, she's losing her powers. So I think it's almost like a conscious thing. Like, oh, the fewer people we have around, the fewer people I have to disappoint and to see how weak I've become, as well as at the same time, when you start to, especially when everything happens with her and Firecracker, you find out that layer of her personality and character. You start to see, okay, she knows she has cracks in her personality that, you know, it's kind of like sometimes you don't want to be around the person because you realize you're more like that person than you want to admit. So she's starting to see like, okay, I see Butcher and I see what I could potentially become because I've been on that road before. So she's just fed up with it. And so I'm going to do my best to be so good that my powers aren't good. It's like she's lying to herself until she finally at the end figures out, hey,
literally faces herself and faces, you know, who the kind of person that she was, which is something that they're going to throw back at her. Firecracker's going to throw back at her. Butcher contacts Ryan through a video game. His screen name is "Don't Be a Cunt." Ryan warns Butcher to stay away. Homelander watches Starlight footage, ignoring Firecracker until she says she'll do anything for him. Anything.
I like the fact that initially he's completely turned off by her.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Because she's another sycophant.
Another
person.
Yeah. Good word.
Another person just like, yes, whatever. And then it's like, okay, yeah, but can you really do anything for me? And she'll show how she's different in a couple of episodes. But another part I like, Black Noir 2 seeks direction from Ashley. He's like, what? He's like, I went home and like he has a dojo, but like I don't think he knows karate. He's like, I don't get how I'm supposed to my motivation behind this character. None of it makes sense. And Ashley's like, just like shut up, like don't talk. That's the one thing you're not supposed to do. And like you said, right after that, she gets dismissed by Homelander, who replaces her with Sage as a new CEO, and she considers quitting. Sage reveals a leak cleared Starlight's followers. Someone leaked the whole situation. The Deep is in charge of that, sector, so he gets demoted, and A-Train gets a message from his brother. The Deep argues with Ambrosius about their relationship because he's like, he said he was gonna put her in a tank above his bed. He has her in the closet. Don't promise those big dreams, man. Those some big dreams.
What's messed up is I believe, I don't know if they showed it or they just said it, that's where she was initially until it got out, and then he was like, oh, I gotta put you in the closet. I gotta put you in the closet, right?
I'm closeted, man.
Closet.
He's closeted, man.
You know, and then I pulled out my gun.
She was a midget. Butcher prepares spiked cookies for Ryan, but then they're like, nah, I'm not gonna poison him. That was the only, to be honest, that was the only hook that had me off of the Kessler Kressler thing. I was like, who made the cookies? But apparently, yeah. So Sage, Homelander, and Ashley interrogate Anika. Anika is the woman in the chair who always has an almond joy. She likes to have almond joys. She almost gave one to Black Noir, but I don't know if you remember. Black Noir is famously allergic to almond joys, so he throws it out like instantly when she gives it to him. But they seem to believe that Anika either is the plant or the leak, or she knows somebody who was. And as she begins to start talking, Homelander just lasers her fucking head off without a secondary thought, just right through the brain. And Sage is upset, and Ashley is traumatized because she had just drafted her letter of resignation. Cog, talk to me about this scene. What did you get from this?
It just showed the slope that these people are on. And it initially made me worried about Sage because I'm like, oh shit. Like, this is the situation that she did not want to be in. And now she's right there in the middle of it. The idea that this guy is just crazy. He won't even hear people out. Because they even said it, they're like, at least get the information first. All we know is she admitted to it. But what did she leak? To whom did she leak? Like, you have no idea what the process of anything is because you're a walking force of nature.
It's a time bomb. He has no patience.
Which is, again, like, to me, why would anybody want to be around this? You know, Ashley, the fact that she uses this to not hand in that letter of resignation, I'm just like, no, just do it more discreetly. Just, here's my paper.
I actually think she's such a low level threat that they wouldn't even. He'd be like, "Where's Ashley?" And they're like, "I don't know. I haven't seen her in a while." He'd be like
straight up, like she could have just
get a new Ashley.
Not just that, to the point where that does come up later on, where they're like, "This wasn't Ashley."
Oh yeah, yeah. They lost a whole soup. Where's A-Train? Later on, you know. So yeah,
right, exactly. So it's like it's that again. It's the same thing with that stuntman. The same thing with this Ashley. They think they're on par with the superheroes. They're not. They are not.
That's just the reminder. That's just a reminder of that there, right? Like the really stark reminder, like, hey, at any second, and it will only take a second. Asa, what do you think about the death of Anika? Homelander just lasering her right through her head.
That was such a bummer because I will say it was ruined for me because I didn't watch the episode until like Saturday. But the moment I saw them sit down with her, I'm like, oh yeah, I guess that's the end of it. She had a good run on the show, I guess.
And that's it, gone.
Yeah, so fast.
Annie confronts Firecracker, and Firecracker's like, yeah, we used to do pageants together, and you told everyone I blew a judge. And then when I heard that it came from you, I tried to confront you about it, and you called me a fat slut. What's worse, the fact that Annie did this stuff or the fact that Annie doesn't remember that she did this stuff?
It's like the same thing to me.
Yeah.
It shows, and that for me is why I looked at Firecracker. Not so much that like, oh, wow, she's a good character and she deserves to do what she's doing. But it's like, man, you created your own villain. Mm-hmm. This is what happens. You know, your past comes to haunt you. So it made me go, okay, now there's genuine motivation. This was a life-altering situation. This is what happens. And now you're starting to understand, okay, once she realizes and you start to see the remorse on Annie's face, you're like, oh, okay. This makes sense. This makes sense. And it's just, I enjoyed this dynamic between the two characters from here on in a lot.
There was a bit of me that was wondering whether or not a sincere Annie apology would have gotten to her. How did you feel about how Firecracker handled the situation, Asa?
Oh, I mean, it's hard to say she's justified, but I don't think she's not justified. Had I think everyone's done horrible things when they're kids, especially for a competitive situation. But for her to essentially have dismantled her career at 12 or 13, just because she was maybe a piece of competition. Like that's a whole new level of anime that we haven't seen. Which also kind of goes to show the psych or the psych, I would say the power psychosis that she's had. Like all of these things were kind of coming out that she probably is just buried and forgotten. She didn't realize how bad she was because she was one of the seven. She's one of these heroes. She's done all this good stuff. And now we're seeing she may have done those good things, but she also did a lot of bad things to get to where she was.
Right.
Yeah, and how damaging does that have to be at 12, right? It's like get this vicious rumor spread about you. This like also like lewd rumor spread about you. Have people gossiping and stuff about you. You got to assume the pageant circuit is a bit more tight knit than like high school. High school's already as tight knit as it gets. You know, if she recognizes her from pageants, that means they've seen each other. You know. Little Miss whatever, and Little Miss East Coast, and Little Miss America, and little all that stuff. And she could never enter any of those again without this rumor following her. I thought that was a hell of a grudge to have. I mean, again, I don't know if she's 100% justified, but there's a very few things that could get you this level of angry, and I think this is one of them. So at ice skating show, Fought on Ice, Huey and MM spy on Newman. Homelander suggests, I love how I could just set the scene and you guys just start laughing because that's how the show is. So Homelander suggests that Newman oppose Singer's new bill, basically be pro soup. Huey is exposed because a drop of sweat lands on Homelander, which leads to a chase. A-Train helps Huey escape. But yeah, Homelander damn near kills him, but he can't see through zinc, or he can't see through whatever he was hindered in some way by this.
Yeah.
Because he could smell the sweat when it dropped on him, but he couldn't smell the sweat in the vent. He can tell somebody was up there, but he couldn't laser them on focus. And eventually he gets a light in his eyes, which causes him to murder or bisect somebody in the ice skating rink, and then everyone starts to run in panic, which means that they start cutting each other open like ribbons, because they're basically wearing razor blades on their feet. It's horrific, but that mixed with like ice capades is just hilarious somehow. Like the combination of both of those things, really sick, but hilarious. And A-Train's helping now. Like he actually helped.
Right.
His skin is in the game. Like his skin was in the game before, but like now he's actively helped Huey. He's turning that corner that we've all been kind of hoping that he would.
Right. This whole scene, I had such a joy watching because it goes back to the idea again. You don't want to be around these people. That even when they're just kind of far away practicing their ice capades, all it takes is basically equivalent of a sneeze, right? A blinding
Yeah.
And because of that one little moment, you all get maimed, murdered, injured in some way, shape, or form. But this also was a scene that annoyed me because I'm sitting there going, why wouldn't Homelander just rip through the building to get Huey? But you can't have him do that because then the story's over, right? But at least they had A-Train because he did have him at dead to rights, and then A-Train gets him. So it's like, okay. And then I like that because it's like, yay, the redemption of A-Train continues. And
the unlikely hero, right? Huey learns that his mom had postpartum depression and basically tried to kill herself before she walked out on the family. So that starts to like the bridge to forgiving. Jeffrey Dean Morgan confronts Butcher about not sedating Ryan. Joe insists they either train or kill Ryan to prevent him from becoming another Homelander. Seems like that kind of hard stance is the only way you get another Homelander, but I don't know how this stuff works.
Again, going to extremes.
Yeah, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. I'm going to kill you so you're going to become a Homelander, but me trying to kill you is going to make you become a Homelander. Yeah. Like, this is the
Luke over Kylo's bed. Right?
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
You know?
I'm going to drive you there.
Wait, how dare you bring up the sequel trilogy? How dare you?
We do it all here on Part of the Major Issues podcast. Speaking of which, we're about to get into where things ramp up a bit because it seems like the Deep has a new friend in Sister Sage, but she's acting a little weird. She's talking about crunch wraps. She wants a blooming onion, and she is down to clown with the Deep. So they get busy after she comes on to him. We also see a lobotomy tool on the table. We'll just leave that. We'll leave that there until we pick it back up. Homelander confronts Ryan about Butcher. After an argument, Homelander has a complete breakdown. I believe this is the mirror scene where he's yelling at himself about like how much love he needs and stuff like that. And it is decided that he will go back to the lab that created him. And that's how we open up the next episode. He goes to the lab where Homelander was once known as John. And that's where he grew up. Scientists are working when they notice security cameras go black. And the phone line is now dead. The elevator descends, revealing Homelander holding a chocolate ice cream cake, Fudgy the Whale. Despite his cheerful demeanor, the staff is intense. He recalls a memory of old Frank. See, Frank used to put him in this sort of incinerator thing to test the durability of his skin. And even though his skin could not burn, he still felt the pain of the burns to the point that he would cry. But his tears would sizzle away in the immense heat. And he would just go through this torture. And he would see Frank, while he was this child going through this torture, playing, what's that, trash ball? You know, taking a piece of trash and throwing it into the thing. So he dares him to do it. If he gets it, if he doesn't get it in, or the last one to get it in goes into the incinerator, he eventually forces Frank into the incinerator and kills him while laughing. We're gonna keep all these scenes together. So then the next person he humiliates is Marty, because apparently, and this is another super dark origin thing. Apparently, the only time, Marty gave Homelander the nickname Squirt. He gave him the nickname Squirt because the only alone time and time of happiness Homelander would ever have is when he could spend some time to play with himself in a very closed off room. And one time he was caught, and then he was called Squirt. So Homelander then says, "You need to masturbate and squirt, or I will burn a hole through your penis." And Marty tries. Boy, does Marty try. Marty gets on that thing, and he is shake weighting it the best way he can. And, you know, you got to think, man, it's like Stretch Armstrong. Like, it's not, this thing is not.
It ain't happening.
Shape. It's not taking shape, man. This thing is not taking shape. So he gets lasered through the penis. Obviously dies from, or I think, does he get lasered through the penis and then gets told to kill him?
Yes. Yeah.
Is this when Barbara comes in?
Yeah, and she says put him out of his misery. And
he's going, John.
And then I think he steps on his skull.
Yeah,
but
as you do.
This whole episode, even as we're talking about, gets me on edge, because what do? It reminds me of like Alien, right?
Yeah,
you're trapped in a room that you can't get out of with this thing that's going to kill you. Yeah, so it's just a matter of, can you somehow outlive it? We look at
people like Ashley. We look at people like Ashley, right? And it's the whole idea of like, this is completely self-preservation. If she doesn't do what she's told, she will die at the hands of very superpowered people. I don't know if these people were under that same level of threat.
Probably not.
And science takes you to some very cruel places. We are in a very clean section when it comes to like operation, right? Surgery, drugs. Yeah, I didn't see the test subjects that got us out very clean.
Right.
There's some horrific stuff you get to breakthroughs in science. And this is just a level of that. Homelander is as good as he is because of how bad those people treated him down here. And do the ends justify the means? Well, there might not even be any people to argue whether or not they do or not, because Barbara comes up, and in a very, very poignant speech that I put up somewhere, she's basically like, you're mad at all of us, but you could have left at any time. None of us were powerful enough to stop you. You just didn't, because the biggest thing that Vought did was instill a need for love. And that need is the one you'll always have. You're always going to be, you were conditioned to seek approval, and approval from us. That's the reason why you never walked away. You didn't want to disappoint us. And he kind of like acknowledges it. but then he locks her in the room and kills everybody else and leaves her in the room with the bodies.
And
Right.
seals it shut.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, is it sealed shut? How?
I thought
how?
Go ahead.
It's
No, I
been
was gonna say,
theorized.
I would
No, I'm
like to
saying
see her. I would like to see her come back.
it has been theorized that this is taking, well, not theorized, we know downright that this is taking place in the basement, sort of, of what?
Of a vault? Is it a vault or
I
is it
thought
of
it was a
some
vault.
base
Ah.
far away?
Yeah, I thought it was off. It wasn't close, like because you don't want any of this to get out. Like, so you're keeping
I'll be,
this away from the city and everything else.
the theory that people are having is the idea that they might be keeping the Gen Zers, the Gen Vers, in the same weird clandestine location. That they might be keeping Soldier Boy possibly, or even when they get the boys later in this same, so maybe they get Barbara out, maybe Barbara joins the whole fight, or maybe Barbara eats burnt flesh to survive. Who knows?
Hey,
Who knows?
if it's good enough for Warren Worthington, then it's good enough. Good enough
Did you-
for her.
That freaking that room though, when they just scan, like they put the camera on, just blood he's like basically
Yeah.
drawing with like
Not just
finger paint
blood,
with their
but
blood.
you can see he butchered these people.
Yeah.
He didn't just kill them; he diced them up and like stacked them like Tetris blocks, and just left her there. And this was the ending I was anticipating for this episode. This entire episode, I paused this episode so many times, and I was just like, I need a breather.
Yeah, this
That
was the hardest
masturbation
episode to
scene was
watch.
That masturbation scene was rough
Yeah,
because there's no winning either way. There's no winning either way. That's
Yeah, it's lose-lose.
I'm like, absolutely ridiculous. And he's like, and not only does he have to masturbate to completion, he has to masturbate to completion while Homelander is actively laughing at him and instructing everybody else to laugh at him, because that's what happened to him. It's all jacked up. Obviously, there's a lot of nature versus nurture in the middle of this, right? This idea about whether or not, you are who you are because of how you were born or how you were raised. What caused the actual Homelander to snap? Is it because he was born a soup, or is it because of all this other kind of stuff that he went through? And I think it's the latter. But the question I pose for you guys is this sympathetic enough to have full sympathy for this character? Where does the show want us to land on Homelander? I feel like once a season we are sort of kind of shown how jacked up his upbringing is.
Yeah.
And then they just find a way to pull us all the way back to the other side with just having him do something completely, irredeemable.
Well, I think you need this to make this character more interesting and layered, and this is something they keep building on, like you said. But for me, the fact that I will always just look at him as a villain is because I get it. You went through some traumatic stuff, but his vengeance, so to speak, is always, in my opinion, infinitely worse. I don't feel bad for the person he incinerated. I don't even feel that bad for the dude that masturbated. The fact that he killed a bunch of other people in that room who had nothing to do with it just goes to show how insane this person is. Now, whether it's because of the fact that he was created to be this way, it's, dude, what's the other great Amazon show? The dad on Invincible, Omni-Man, right?
Oh yeah.
Omni-Man, he was gonna throw himself into a black hole because he realized what a douchebag he was.
Right.
Homelander doesn't have that. Homelander is trying to justify his actions because he feels like no matter what, I'm better than everybody. That's the end of the day. This is, like I said,
and also we say this constantly on this thing. It was comic books that kind of taught me this lesson, but this is the idea that, like we said, the only difference between a hero and a villain is how they respond to trauma. A hero has a traumatic moment happen in their life, and they put their foot down and they say, this moment will happen to nobody else. This was such a horrific moment for me. I have to make sure that this happens to nobody else. Where a villain has a traumatic event happen to them, and they say, it's no fair that it happened to me. It needs to happen to everybody else now. Because what did I do to deserve it? I didn't do anything. So guess what? Everyone else is going to have to feel that wrath. And that's what Homelander is doing. How much of this is on everybody else's hands? You know, how many more people can he kill till he feels like he's even with his childhood? It's never gonna get there, you know, and that's why he's always gonna be stuck in his own head. Huey visits his father in the hospital, learns he has days to live, asks A-Train to steal Compound V. A-Train agrees, steals it from Homelander's apartment. That's when he bumps into Ashley, and they decide that they have shit on each other because Ashley apparently shits in Homelander's toilet and doesn't flush. And A-Train steals V. So they're like, we won't tell either about each other. I thought that was a cute little partnership that doesn't last very long.
It just goes to show that to me again. Goes to show how much smarter A-Train is than Ashley. This chick is a dummy.
Yeah,
she's dumb. Your revenge.
Doesn't he say something like you're leaving DNA everywhere? Something like that. He says something like, what are you, like,
yeah.
Like just go. You could have hopped on a plane and been in like New Zealand, you know, and no one would have cared about you. But
I think Anthony Starr's from New Zealand.
Yeah, I believe so. Good callback.
Yeah, good callback. Anthony Starr's from New Zealand.
Also, did you guys notice whenever he got the V, when he opened it, he had all the jars of breast milk?
Yes, and he also is collecting his hairs too. It's still in jars in there.
Yeah, he's like, what the fuck?
A question I don't feel like anyone is asking: why does he have V?
that's true.
That is interesting.
Yeah, just
Why does he? And they're not. It wasn't a full thing of V. There was vials missing. Is he double dosing? Is he, on the stuff too? Like, what is he? Is he dosing Ryan? Like, what's going on here? Here's pal. Here's some milkshake. Here's your blue milkshake, kind of stuff. Really interesting.
That's or is
That's
he
a really
building is he building a little army somewhere?
Why does he need them on hand if he's the most powerful superhero in the world? Seems kind of strange. Huey and Kimiko are attacked by Shining Lights members, with Huey getting injured. I feel like the whole Shining Light of it all, they didn't finish here. We might finish it somewhere else. Maybe that chick with the scar joins the Gen Vers, and then shows back up later on.
Yeah,
but this is where like Huey like slits a man's throat.
Yeah. This
to
is
be
where
fair,
you see
Kimiko
Huey.
told him how. Remember, she's like wrist,
Yeah.
throat. I was like, damn.
This is where you kind of see Huey finally become the character we need him to be.
Yeah.
Where instead of being like the softest boy who's like not really the guy you want to be, have your back fighting, it's where you see him finally be the guy who's willing to make, kind of like again, for his dad. He's finally willing to make the decision, even though it might not be exactly what he wants it to be.
There's so often that character is paralyzed by indecision, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not knowing which one's the right or the wrong one to make, but ultimately just make one. We need people who make decisions, Huey, for the love of God. So I like that he is being a bit more
involved, hands-on,
proactive. Even though this was completely in defense.
All
But,
three words.
It was, but I loved how Kimiko turns him into a weapon. She's like, here's how you kill. Here's a shield. I'm going to strap a shield to you. I'm going to fix your leg. Now get out there and kill somebody, you son of a bitch.
Yeah. Because that always happens. He always twists his leg or trips or something, and then he becomes a liability.
He's a liability, yeah.
Yeah. Sister Sage plans to take down Starlight by having Firecracker reveal Starlight's secrets in a TV special. Starlight sets up across from the Starlight house, infuriating Annie, especially when Firecracker reveals that Annie had an abortion. If I remember correctly, they do the Firecracker reveal first, right? Butcher
they threaten
Butcher
her.
finds that she has a groom. Yeah, Butcher finds out that she was like a groomer or whatever. Like she slept with a very young man.
Yes. And she throws it out. She's like, okay, tell everybody. I'll tell everybody.
And they do. They tell everybody,
the
and then she's like, guys, I have
thanks
something
to Jesus.
Yeah, he's like, I have something to confess. I was a bad person a long time ago, and it was just a young man, and we were in love. Like she paints it in the best possible picture ever, and then does the turn of but Annie had an abortion.
Yeah,
and kept it secret,
and turns it all up. But I mean, secret to who? Who are you supposed to tell that you had an abortion? You can't walk around with a shirt that says, by the way,
you can.
I mean, you can walk around it. You shouldn't walk around the shirt that says, I had an abortion. But like, who does she owe that to? I don't think she owes that to the public.
No.
No.
You know, it's funny though. I always felt in doing my rewatch, I felt like this was a potential dangling plot that they never picked up on. Because I think it was the season 1 or 2 that Annie is seen like soon after hooking up with Huey, puking. Which when I remember watching it, oh, is she pregnant or is she just stressed out?
Yeah.
I don't feel like, and it never went anywhere. You never saw her puke again, and never that happened. But then in this season that they said, oh, she had an abortion. I'm like, because they never say either when it happened.
I never caught that. And I'm doing a rewatch too.
Interesting.
You know, so I'm wondering, because Huey knows, and I'm like, does Huey know because she told him about something in her past, or because it was Huey's kid?
Yeah,
interesting.
I don't know. I thought that was cool because I was like, wait, because I always remembered that. I remember watching, oh, she's puking, and it was literally like a couple days after she hooked up with Huey the first time, and it was like, is she pregnant? And it never went anywhere. And then she never said, oh, I've been puking because I'm stressed, or I puked because I was pregnant.
I never, even though they might exist, I have never believed in this caricature of a woman carelessly sleeping with people and carelessly getting abortions. I know people who've done it. I know people who've done it, and it was a decision they felt like they had to make, and it's a decision that haunts them to this day. It's a decision I will never have to make, given how I was born. And I know people sit on both sides of the aisle with how they feel about people who get them. I just think it's a waste to. We got to be careful about what we demonize in this world. I think there's certain things we really, really, really have to demonize. There's certain things we really, really have to put a hard line stance on, and that we're not. That we're like, oh, well, you know, and then there's stuff like this where it's like, oh, you know, she slept with a minor. She was a pedophile. She did some pedophile shit, firecracker. And that, in some way, in comparison to Annie's abortion, makes Annie the worst person. It just is. But again, Annie, which I think this is an additional layer, Annie did Capes for Christ. Yeah. Annie was seen as a Christian in many ways, superhero. She did the stuff with Ezekiel, right? She was supposed to like be on stage with him and all that kind of stuff. So that is also, you know, very particular. And religion has a very, you know, black and white stance on how they feel about that kind of stuff. So I got that, but like, what later? No, oh, is this also the part where she tells about the thing about the? Oh, that's later on, right? Where she says about the blinding of the lady in her first save.
It's later when Annie's talking about it.
Later on, she Firecracker brings that up about Annie. It's not this scene.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll get there because even there, like she's doing that thing, and I'm like, so like obviously that was by accident, and everyone around Annie is giving her disgusted looks, and I'm like, yo, yeah, but it's all this judgmental stuff going on in this world of all worlds. Feels fucking weird. It feels weird that you're demonizing this girl for these decisions when we've again seen what this world is. But again, I guess that is the real world, huh?
I was gonna say we're in their world. We don't, but we're also. I feel like the show is making fun of how us in the real world here, in general, see headlines, see news feeds where, on a drop of a dime, we make a lot, not everybody, but a lot of people get outraged by everything, and because that's what happens in this sense. I think we talked about this in Men in Black, right? A person is smart, people are dumb. Mm-hmm. You get that group of people to suddenly see something, and it's more often than not, and pay attention to the crowds, you will see a couple people react, and then everybody else look around and go, well, how am I supposed to react? Not how they really feel, but how they're supposed to react. And they emulate it. It's very
it's
deepish.
all in, and I said that outrage machine, it's all in how you say it. Because again, she just admitted to being a pedophile, but how did she admit to being a pedophile?
Yeah. She
You know what I'm saying?
it's like we were in love and it was a
Yeah.
sweet moment.
Yeah.
But unfortunately,
Yeah.
he was
Yeah.
however old. But she slept around and
Oh,
got
she ripped the
pregnant.
baby. She ripped the baby out of her,
Yeah,
and she
yeah,
threw it against the wall. You know what I'm saying? Like she put it in the absolute worst possible terms.
Mhm.
And we see this happen all the time with stuff like
Yeah.
that. On the news. It's like, oh no, that he just embezzled $30 million. Like what the?
Right.
But yeah,
Come on.
No,
How is that white collar any? How is that any
Yeah.
worse than all the other stuff?
because he stole from rich people.
There you go.
Right.
No, Alice kind of said it best. It is literally our world, just saying superhero. We have no superhero. That's the only difference. Because it's this. I know. Well, yeah. Are we going to get Marvel and DC heroes, or are we going to get
No,
boys heroes? I mean,
That's true.
I don't
I
think
don't
it's
want my
worth the
girlfriend
risk.
getting run over in the street.
And my
Run
kids are hard
over,
enough to
run
take care of.
through.
Yeah.
Not in a fun way. Run through.
Yeah.
Not in the party way.
Yeah, Robin's been ran through.
Yeah. Um,
Poor
dog.
girl.
God,
Poor girl.
dog.
Sorry,
Lost my whole train of thought.
I derailed the A train.
Hey, much like Robin, all right?
Hey!
A train stopped.
Hey.
No, yeah. So it's it is and avoiding the politics of it all, which is really hard because it's literally again this part kind of very came off as a caricature of the current political climate,
Yeah.
which is even more funny, especially when you realize that they filmed this like a year ago, and like it feels more on brand now even than a year ago. Like it's hard to believe that they're like it won't go this far, and then a year later, it's like, oh, this is regular.
I think that's kind of my beef with the season a little bit is this idea that like the stuff that is funny because it's outrageous is not really outrageous anymore.
Yeah.
It kind of just is. So the laughing at it, the laughter kind of stops when I realize that when I turn the TV off, I have to live in the boys' world and deal with the real repercussions of all this kind of stuff happening. But Butcher and Frenchie end up breaking into Firecracker's trailer. They're attacked by Ezekiel. He's the one with the Mr. Fantastic powers. I believe he gives himself head or something. Butcher Butcher basically blacks out after getting choked out. When he wakes up, Ezekiel is dead and splattered all over the trailer.
Ripped to pieces.
Yes. Colin tends to Frenchie's wounds, but Frenchie's like, "No, Colin, I killed your family." And so that's my terrible French impression.
It wasn't that bad, actually. Like,
Wasn't that bad? And then it says, like, I wrote down horrified. Colin tells Frenchie to stay away, but like I should put justified. Colin tells Frenchie to stay away.
Especially because by this point we've heard the story. He told the story, and that's horrible. Like all I ever saw was the guy's leg. Like,
and that's all he shows to confess.
Right.
Yeah. My leg, Colin.
He's like, I did it. That's not funny. Hold on.
No. Like for realsies. We were both there at the same time.
And this is the part for me that we saw all the online vitriol about how people dislike the two men in the relationship. But this I guess the finale of that arc was what justified the entire thing for me. Like this is such a well done, well finished, and then you see the ramifications of it on Frenchie. Like this justified it all for me.
Yeah.
Even when I'm like,
especially I was expecting them to make it like a forgiving thing.
No, me too.
The fact that I love the fact that Colin's just like, no, fuck this. Like, no, dude,
didn't he say if I see you again, I'll kill you?
Yeah, I'll kill you.
Yeah.
As he should. Again, like,
yes, he's justified, right?
Everything Colin did in this relationship was without that knowledge. Everything Frenchie did was with it. And the fact that they went in with different levels of knowledge into this whole thing, and Frenchie could have changed that at any moment, put Colin in a situation where he didn't have a choice. And I love that he stood his ground in that instance. We get our confession. Sister Sage has a brain that will not stop growing. Everyone's brain stops growing at 25. Hers continues. And so only way for a release is to get a frontal lobotomy and to feel less intelligent.
And not just grows, heals. So
Oh, that's my favorite scene, I think, in the whole show, but we'll get there. When she gets shot.
Oh, that part.
Yeah, when she gets shot, bro.
I thought you meant the lobotomy. I'm like, oh, this part.
No,
I
no,
I
her
have not had to
her
close my
chomping on
eyes. And
her chomping on German chocolate cake with her bare hands. That's like
we've all
that's
been there.
America. That's America right there. So, uh, Sister Sage asks the deep, so we find out that that's what's going on. Again, I feel like that's an audience surrogate thing. I feel like that in the information age, how often are we lobotomizing ourselves just so we can chill? So we could chill the hell out. So I could relax and watch the boys and not have to worry about fucking Decision 2024 or fucking Gaza or fucking, inflation or anything that I know is actively happening.
Or a woman getting murdered in her apartment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or people getting thrown on the train tracks in New York, where I'm from, like all the time, all the time, all the time. So yeah, sometimes we do lobotomize ourselves and get some crunch wraps and we deal with it in that sense. I thought that was a pretty cool little analog there.
It's the truth, right? What are most of us that running joke I've constantly seen of how most of us fall asleep, right? Doom scrolling until the phone falls in your face.
Yeah, possibly with a podcast on in the background or a TV on in the background. Overstimulated as hell, so we don't have to be stimulated at all.
Right.
That's how
I'm
it
taking
is.
30 milligrams of melatonin, y'all.
Except for this show. Except for this show. Except for this show. You should be watching the show.
No, for sure.
I forgot how powerful melatonin is. This is kicking my ass. But
it helps.
It does. So
30 milligrams doesn't even work for me.
Jesus. You need morphine, man. Just morphine.
Nah, I got Grogu juice.
There you go. Grogu juice. How many Grogus did you milk for that juice?
I don't know, Disney. Why don't you tell us?
Why don't you tell us? So Huey brings Compound V to his father's bedside, but decides to use it against it after, but just like, don't do that. I already stole Frenchie's V and I've been taking it and that's why I'm dying. So please don't give it to your dad. And he's like, okay, fine, I won't. But then his father suddenly revives and apparently there is Compound V in his bloodstream and his mother is calm. So we can kind of assume that she dosed him with it. She'll later go on and say that she thought that's what Huey wanted, but no, that's not what Huey wanted at all. And yeah, things get worse really, really fast. We ended up going to Vought Fan Festival V52. The Deep and Cameron Coleman are presenting phases 7 through 19 of the Vought Cinematic Universe. A bunch of digs at every bit of superhero, filming. They make jokes about Tech Night having a movie that has a Nirvana soundtrack and there's 10 minutes of straight black screen or whatever, making fun of the Batman. A-Train's movie has so many reshoots, it's become the most expensive movie in history, which means it has to be good. All that kind of stuff. I thought that was hilarious. Homelander is watching from the backstage. He's having flashbacks. He's thinking of Ryan. Sister Sage approaches him and is like, how was that whole trip home? He doesn't say anything. So she's kind of disconnected from him now. There's a divide happening there. He's no longer focused on the mission. That whole trip down there done jacked his ass up. Huey's at the hospital with his parents, Huey Sr. and Daphne. Huey Sr. injected with the Compound V seemingly is helpful. And he's like, I guess I wasn't brain dead. Huey talks to his mother, finds out that she injected the Compound V and thought that that's what he wanted. Firecracker on Vought News Network criticizes Starlight, who watches in distress. This is when he says that she says like Starlight had her first save. It was a gas station robbery. She manages to get rid of the robber, but accidentally blinds somebody in attendance or whatever. And I'm like, that, I don't know. For some reason, that felt like very low ball to me. But she's around like Frenchie and somebody else. I don't know if Kimiko's there, but they like give her dirty looks and like she like looks around, starts to cry, and runs away. And I'm like, who are you to judge maybe 14-year-old Annie Starlight in this situation?
Wasn't she in her campaign office and like the normal?
It might have been the
going
Starlight.
Like, oh, you're
yeah.
But it's the normals.
I didn't take it as judgmental. I took it as just a more like a holy shit, like wow, that's amazing. And also, you still have to remember this is from the perspective of people that don't like soups. These are people who their whole lives have been designed to kill these people. right? That's something that Frenchie always took pride in. Like when they killed Translucent, he was proud. Like, my job is to always figure out how to kill these motherfuckers. Like that's what he was about. He sat there and puzzled.
Cherry Bomb Frenchie.
Right. Like do you remember that? Like him sitting there with tools and all this stuff, and when they had Translucent locked up, and he's just sitting there constantly like this is what he's pondering over. Like, how do I kill this superhero? Do I do this? Do I do this? Do this? You know what I mean? Like the same way, Oppenheimer was sitting there. How do I make this reaction occur? He's sitting there going, how do I kill this motherfucker? That's crazy. The way he describes it to Huey is like, this is just another day in the office. Like, I've been doing this for years.
We actually haven't found out what his axe is to grind in this whole situation. He's one of the last few. Yeah, because MM's parents or his dad was killed by a soup. Huey, soup. Becca, soup.
Mm-hmm.
Starlight is a soup.
Even Kimiko, she's the product of experimentation.
V, yeah. But we don't know. We don't know what Frenchie's axe is to grind in this whole situation.
Yeah. Even when we get
the little Nina of it all, but she's not like she's a soup. Maybe she is a soup. Maybe little Nina is a soup. That Russian dominatrix lady.
Yeah. Oh no, I like when she shows up.
Oh man. The whole thing. So the boys regroup and plan to track down a soup virus that Victoria Newman acquired from Godokin University. That's what we spoke about, Asa, that virus that they were working on in Gen V. Butcher and MM visit Stan Edgar, Juan Carlo Esposito, in jail.
Don't fuck up his sneakers. Don't mess up his sneakers.
No, he'll bug out. Offering his release for help securing the virus, they find a lab at Stan's old farm with souped up violent animals. Victoria Newman arrives and they encounter super strong chickens and a flying murderous sheep. Various flying murderous sheep. They hide in a barn, find Samir, which is her husband, fiance.
Yeah, her partner.
And the mother of, the
father of
her daughter.
Which now I'm spacing out of that. I knew her name too, and I can't think about it right now.
What I liked about this whole thing was going, oh, you see those two extra people? They're the red shirts.
the nameless guards.
Yeah,
their eyes are not gonna. It's literally a chicken flies through a man.
Bursts through. When they all start shooting it, and it's just the bullets are back. It was 11:30 at night. I am laughing hysterically. Like,
what got me, my part in this scene, because I think the different parts got different people. Because I'm saying them like, okay, this is kind of humorous. But when he burst through the thing or whatever, and Frenchie says something along the lines of like, "Oh, not this again." No, he goes, "Oh no, not this again." And Kimiko looks at him going, like, "What the fuck? Like, what? This is a very particular instance of this happening." And Frenchie's like, "Oh no, not this again." And Kimiko's like, "What kind of shit are you into, bro?"
No, that's what I'm saying. He's the mad scientist of the group. I honestly, this season, despite the whole Colin thing, really solidified Frenchie as like my favorite character because he's nuts. He's nuts, but he has a heart. And I guess it's like you said, he has no skin in the game other than curiosity. Like, I'm not the soup, therefore I will be against the soups. And I like doing drugs, and I like hanging around people, and I'm a little damaged. And what are you doing? And then re-exploring how his relationship with Kimiko has grown from season 1 to now. I completely forgot how he learned her sign language. And I was like, wow, like this guy's a genius.
Yeah, he's super smart. Like, he's such an amazing character.
Yeah, who has just been pointed in the wrong direction. Like, man, dude, you could have like cured cancer. But you decided to figure out how to kill superheroes.
Yeah. But it's also like you said, there's a demented level of pride in his very particular set of skills, as I'll take from Liam Neeson. So chickens, goats, everything. They find out it's an infected water supply that did this. And they use the last dose to infect a dead body, feed the dead body to the animals, they all die. Amid the chaos, Samir goes missing, leaving only part of his leg, as you do. Butcher and MM return Stan to jail, but Victoria kills the driver, aiding in Stan's escape. I actually completely forgot about that because he never comes back.
Mhm.
No. Well, because I like the fact that he never comes back because he honestly, I even forgot he was in prison because
They do.
there were so many times in doing my rewatch that I'm just like, why hasn't this guy been murdered? So they
Mert.
realize just straight because you're just a regular human. You should have been murdered. There, if you remember that one scene for Homelander's birthday where he's in the control booth, like, you're gonna do this way, and that's just the end of it. I'm sitting there going, zap. Who cares? You know what I mean? Like, who cares? But they have to get him off screen. One, so he could probably go film his Mandalorian and all the other stuff that he's in, and his GW Bridge or whoever the hell character he is in Captain America: New World Order, whatever the hell it's called now. Because it's going to be a good movie because it's been reshot 1,000 times. But no, so I like that they get him off camera. I like that they get him off camera because it's Giancarlo Esposito, the guy who was built up from Gus Fring. So when he does show back up, I hope he's something. It's a magnificent reappearance rather than
he is the black lightsaber when he shows back up. That'd be cool.
Yeah. We also have to remember everyone. Giancarlo Esposito is 66 years old. So
crazy.
Let's be careful with him. Let's be careful with the man. Butcher.
If Harrison Ford can still be the Red Hulk, Giancarlo Esposito's fine.
So this is the scene that solidified my theory. This is when I start going, yeah, and everyone's still like, nah. Butcher captures Samir, planning to hand him to Joe Kessler. Again, there is no fucking Joe Kessler. To create more virus. Joe is pleased with Butcher's work, but in this instance, he says something like he leans over to him and says, hey, wake up, or whatever. And he goes, yeah, we're gonna get whatever we gotta get out of you. And Samir looks over his shoulder like, who are you talking to? Mm-hmm. And I'm like, they're gonna do it. They're gonna fucking say it, but they didn't get there yet. Poor Samir.
Well, seems like they don't say it, but they show it, and that moment, I'm like, "Damn it, George, you hit it on the head."
It's coming. His ass is. And then I made a meme about the angels and the devils on the shoulders.
Did the part I thought you had where Kessler yells at Becca? Didn't that happen first, and then it showed him not around?
I think when that happens in general, that's when Butcher gets tipped off to it because no one else could talk to Becca. No one else could see Becca. So the second that Kessler responds, that's when he fucking
will you shut the fuck up? And he's like, oh.
He's like, wait, he says like, you can see her or whatever. And then, and again, he's doing this to Nope, but there's no one there.
There's nobody.
Yeah, poor Samir.
Because you're captured by somebody who's actively talking to somebody else. What should be for Samir? What's Samir do?
He's talking to multiple people, not just one. Like
in every show, he plays the conniving fucking guy. Was he
in Andor? Is he the guy in Andor?
Is he in Andor or is he in one of the Mandalorian seasons?
I'll check.
I think he might be in both. I think he's like the crossover character. Because if you remember, he's in like or I think he's in Book of Boba Fett.
He might be in Book of Boba Fett. I remember him being like the guy who like was sad.
Out.
Yeah, because he was sad that way they met or whatever. Getting there. Samir. Okay, well he was in the Clone Wars. But also, I have a picture of him in Star Wars gear, and they won't tell me what he was in. In all 3 seasons of live-action Star Wars series, 3 seasons, I guess, is Mandalorian. Then it's got to be Mandalorian.
Mm-hmm. That's what I'm saying. Like he's always showed up as because I think he's even in the first like episode or 2 when they find Grogu.
Dr. Pressing.
He's the doctor experimenting. He's always been a dick. He's always been. He's in Fear of the Walking Dead, which I know is probably a show that no one has seen, but for some reason ran for 8 seasons.
It's their fault. No one's seen it, but continue.
He plays the right hand man. Like he's just like the guy who's willing to get shit done, so to speak. But he does it in such a way that you almost feel bad for him, but then you realize no, shit didn't have to go this way.
But they're doing the Jesse Pinkman meth thing with him. Whether he's locked chained to a lab, and now he has to kind of figure it out, or people are gonna die. That's not right for good old
He's
Samir.
tied to Victoria Newman.
Nadia.
He's tied to Nadia, whoever the hell her name is. I never liked her. I never liked her, and we'll get it. Never.
Is that because you hate AOC?
I'm not gonna go there, bro.
I'll just leave that. I'll just leave that there.
This is a discussion about the boys. It has nothing to do with politics
at all. Comic books never. Never will never.
The boys has never been woke.
We're not talking about the girls on the boys, all right? We're going to talk about the boys on the boys.
X-Men and the boys in comics have never been woke.
Never. Speaking of woke, Huey's father's woke. He's woken up, but he's starting to forget things. Like how to not kill people, because he accidentally killed several people due to his new phasing powers. When he killed that guy flirting with the nurse, I damn near died. I've never seen somebody die mid-flirt.
I was very upset with the lack of professionalism by that nurse.
Flirting with him? Flirting with him? Yeah.
No, not
the wrong day.
That's the easy part. The fact that one, you react that way to blood, and then two, in this world, people must see shit like this almost on a regular basis. So you would have thought she'd at least hit the button. Instead, she just goes running.
There should be a soup button. I do agree. There should be a soup button in general, in all buildings, all the time, for any reason. Post office, hit the soup button. I'm tired of this shit.
Exactly. You know what I'm saying? Everywhere, man. Anywhere. Administrative buildings, man. Like, listen, this is the fire alarm, and this is the Homelander just fucking ran through our building button. Like, come on.
I thought the most touching part is when the dad started to go sinister towards the mom. That felt like a real anger that he harbored towards her. Once he recognized who she was and his memory started to come back, that started to, tug at the heartstrings a little bit, because you got to imagine that he smiled and pizza rolled it up the entire time that his mom was gone, and now he has an opportunity to tell her to her face how he feels. And not only did we could talk all day, and not to act as if it's lesser, we could talk all day about like how you absolutely irreparably damaged this child, but also like you were the love of my life. Like you were the woman I picked out of everybody. You just left. You absolutely just left. So he goes and he says all that. They eventually end up talking to him. They realize that he needs to die. And maybe if they would have realized that, a lot of other people didn't need to die. But I love that the reason the way he dies is because apparently Frenchie creates some sort of concoction that will let him peacefully drift off into death. And the whole thing is that he says he doesn't want to be like Jar Jar, their dog that they kept alive way past its expiration date. At the V52, trailers for Training A-Train and a new Firecracker movie air. Backstage, A-Train confides to Ashley that he leaked the footage implicating her. Homelander asks Ryan what he wants, and Ryan suggests helping people. So they see the punching bag of the show, who's still alive, Adam Bork, the director of Dawn of the Seven. And apparently he did something not so great to that a PA named Bonnie. So Ryan and Homelander, Ryan tells her to slap him as revenge. And then when that doesn't work, he just tells her to keep slapping him. And Ryan seems to kind of get off on a little bit of this power.
He seems to really enjoy it.
Power dynamic stuff, which is not a good sign at all. I don't think anyone watching at home thought it was a good sign. But it's all good because we buttoned it up. We know who the leak is. We just saw that Ashley found out who the leak is, and Ashley says the leak is Cameron Coleman. Not A-Train at all. It was Cameron Coleman, a man that she was having a weird dub. So I wouldn't say weird. She was having a dub sub dom relationship with, and who kind of played her. It was like, oh, you're not very dominant right now, so I think we're gonna stop sleeping together. So he's like, okay, you're gonna stop sleeping with me. So they beat him to death. Homelander declares that they will be wrathful gods instead of just celebrities, and he brings in Sam and Kate from God U to support him. I could see them joining the Seven eventually, and towards the end of this, it looks like that's exactly what they're doing. And then Frenchie Gilwritten goes to the police station to confess to several murders. We go back to Nope. We did all that. Were you surprised that he went to jail?
No, not at all.
No.
No,
No.
because you confess to that. That's standard procedure. Even if they eventually find out you're not guilty because you did it for whatever, that's you roll into a police station and say, "Hey, man, I killed a bunch of people," and start describing it for the very sake of your sanity and for any potential
Yeah.
further
Keep
murders.
and protect the public, right?
Right.
Lock your
Yeah,
ass up
right,
until they figure out what the
right.
situation is.
right.
Butcher wakes up Samir. Well, and he demands he create a stronger suit virus, and he's like, "Bro, I'm in a barn. Like, what do you want me? How do you want me to synthesize like this very particular thing?" He's like, "Oh, you better fucking do it." Huey scatters his father's ashes with Daphne, Starlight, MM, and Kimiko. They are interrupted by a protester shouting at Starlight. Later, Kimiko visits Frenchie in prison, but he refuses to see her. That's a little too sad boy for me. It's a little too sad boy for me. You don't even see her? You won't even see her, bro. She came all the way over there. She don't even speak. You know how hard it must have been to get all the way over there, and you won't even see her? And I get it. He's like, "Oh, I just felt too bad. I didn't want you to see me." But I'm like, she cares about you, bro. And I guess that's what it is. Ultimately, they both felt like they weren't deserving of each other's love because they had such a negative view of one another, of themselves. Sorry, not of one another. So Firecracker replaces Cameron Coleman on Bot News Network. Now it has just become full-on outrage channel 24/7. She's doing this Jewish space laser stuff, talking about it, brainwashing people. MM gets a call from A-Train who's like, "Yo, like, this got to stop because everybody's going crazy. Everybody dying here." But they find out that there's a certain party going on at a guy's named Tech Knight's house. Tech Knight, who comes from a very long line. Tech Knight, who comes from a very long line of slave owners, and who has now
bad time to say my boy then.
yeah, it's like the Ashley shit, bro. You can't get caught with your pants down here, and there's a lot of pants coming down in this.
Oh, for sure.
So with Butcher missing, they're like, "All right, we'll go to Web Weaver for help." And he's a drug addicted soup. He's the Spider-Man parody in this. And they decide that the best way to go about it is to dress Huey as Web Weaver because Web Weaver has an invitation to this kinky sex party thing. Well, it's not a whole sex. They only just invited some people to the extra party downstairs. The extra party downstairs. So Huey disguised as Web Weaver sneaks in to plant bugs. Homelander reveals a plan for treason to Victoria, who supports it despite its risks. Tech Knight takes Huey as Web Weaver on the house tour, showing him a BDSM dungeon. He grows suspicious and ends up discovering Huey in disguise, but not after some of the most graphic dirty talk I've ever heard in my life. Mm-hmm. I thought I was pretty, whatever the opposite of vanilla is, spicy, sassy, zesty. Yeah. But some of the things that were said in here, outright horrific. The snail trail.
Yes.
Ashley putting her juices on the face of Huey's mask. Again, I thought I was ready for some of the stuff. Some of the tools in the dungeon. Some of the things you're supposed to put some fluids in that come near other people's faces. All of that and more. And there's a gimp in the corner of the room.
Yep. Who's his former assistant? His former sidekick assistant.
Robin. Yeah, his Robin is in a gimp suit, over there. So absolutely ridiculous.
I was waiting to see Ving. I was waiting to see Ving Rhames show up in all this.
Oh yeah, right. And you gotta get that music. Zed's dead, baby.
That's right.
Yeah, they eventually get him out. This thing was kind of played for laughs. I thought it was a bit more horrific than it was funny. I definitely had moments where I thought it was funny, but there's certain parts I'm like, I don't know, man. This is a bit horrific here. But Annie, Kimiko, and MM sneak into the party and subdue Firecracker and Sage. They shoot Sage in the head.
In the head. Pow!
They find Tech Knight and try to torture him for information, but it excites him. And then Ladio, Tech Knight's former sidekick, helps them access the computer, revealing his deal with Homelander and Sage and all the prison systems. They start to donate to Black Lives Matter and stuff. He's not having a good time of it. But my favorite part is that it's his Alfred that kills him. Alfred is like, "I'm tired of this shit. You know how many times I had to clean up It's fucking
You know,
Dutch.
I've dealt with all of this and I accepted it, but this,
Yeah, and strangles him to death. But yeah, you get this amazing moment of circumstance where Sage is there to tell Homelander what to tell the politicians. But Sage just got shot in the head, and therefore she's no use to anyone. She's in La La Land. She's talking about eating a crunch wrap and getting on a Sybian, and she is out of control. And next thing you know,
which I had to look up. I had to look up what that was.
I knew what both of those things were thanks to Howard Stern, but
I'm also aware of them.
Blame Howard Stern. Sure.
again,
Sure.
zesty, spicy. I thought I was on the up and up here, but all this other kind of stuff, no, not in my wheelhouse. Web holes.
I'm such a wholesome person. I was like, Sybian, that sounds like a kind of horse.
You're not wrong.
I mean, you're not wrong. Yeah,
It will take you places. It'll take you places, bro. It'll take you places.
It gallops.
In his inability to get Sage's advice, he starts to talk all recklessly. They realize he doesn't know what the hell he's talking about, and they start to kind of like play him like you know what the hell you're talking about. And Victoria steps up, and she's the one that becomes the face of this thing. She's like, yeah, both of us are gonna run this country, so don't worry about it. Seems more like a means to the end at the time, but I think she starts to even convince herself that it could possibly be this until Homelander becomes Homelander and starts to kill people again. And then she's like, oh yeah, no. Like later on when she's like, I'm out. I'm like, this was always it, girl. Like this is always what this was going to be. Mm-hmm. Like you surprised? This is not the time to be surprised. So at Vought, Firecracker tells Homelander she encountered Starlight, but she escapes. And he's like, I don't care. Like, I don't care about you, and I don't care about Sage. Y'all all just messing this whole thing up. And she goes, no. But I've been doing something for you. I've been taking some medication. It might enlarge my heart.
Minor problem.
Minor problem.
You
Minor side effect. Minor side effects to forcing yourself to produce breast milk when you are not with child. And she proceeds to squirt this milk in this man's face, and then she just like coddles him and cuddles him as he suckles upon the teat. And there's like a big American flag in the background. I'm like, is this America? Are we just a bunch of babies
awesome.
suckling on the teat? Suckling on
Happy
the teat.
July 4th.
That's it. Butcher returns to Samir, pressuring him to develop the virus despite the risk. Kessler is then revealed as a figment of Butcher's imagination, and he insists on the necessity of the virus to eliminate all soups. My favorite line is, I am you, and you want this, and because I'm telling you want this, that means you want this. Because it's kind of true. This voice wouldn't be coming out of nowhere. It's literally his subconscious talking to him. The worst parts of it, but part of him does want this, to kill all the soups around the world. So, Butcher struggles with this. Ryan is on the set of Vaught's Avenue V Christmas special, which shows a puppet version of A-Train talking about Antifa. It's talking about like what is it talking about? It's talking about like telling on your neighbors.
Yeah, telling your family.
Tell on your family, tell on your neighbors. Yeah. One big country. Report anybody suspicious in your life, your parents, anyone suspicious. Ryan questions the show's intentions, but the director insists that the lyrics were personally approved by Homelander. Sister Sage arrives at the Vault Tower, but Homelander and Firecracker are already there, and they move the meeting up without her. Homelander dismisses Ashley and reveals he found bugs planted by Butcher in Tech Knight's mansion. Again, Sage, in this instance, is absolutely useless. Not only could she not help him with the speech, but someone managed to get in and out of the mansion without her knowing. So he's like, yeah, you can kind of just go, He assigns Firecracker to find the one true mole, explaining that Sage has the brains, but he has the wisdom. Sage is upset about being upstaged by Firecracker, so she texts the Deep for some fun time. Annie tells her mother, Donna, that she needs to hide with her extended family in Sedona, but Donna's like, nah, because I got kicked out of my Bible group because you had an abortion. I'm like, lady, get another hobby. Do something else. You're supposed to be defending your daughter out there in these streets.
Southern Baptist.
I'm telling you, man.
I'm from Arkansas. I can make that joke, y'all.
After hanging up, Annie says she couldn't imagine bringing a child into the world they live in now, which, A-Train takes pictures of Sister Sage handing a file to someone on the street and sends them to MM. Butcher returns to the office, revealing he was behind Samir's disappearance. He's like, guys, remember that Samir bloke? Turns out he's not really dead. And I'm like, okay. That's not a way to kind of, break it to them.
That's how my kid tells me he broke my PlayStation controller.
Yeah,
hey,
right?
listen.
Yeah, by the way, I know you were wondering. So he shares that a virus strong enough to kill Homelander would cause a global pandemic, killing all supes. And he's horrified, calling it genocide, but Butcher denies wanting to go through with it. He goes, I wasn't going, that's what I'm telling you. I wasn't going to do it. Butcher also announces that Grace Mallory has freed Frenchie from prison. MM, doubting his leadership after he collapsed at Tech Knight's house, puts Butcher back in charge. Oh yeah, I forgot that MM had like a heart thing.
Yeah, and then A-Train runs MM to the hospital.
That's the moment we were talking about.
And that little boy sees him.
Yes, A-Train saves a life. Yep. What do you think about that moment of realization when A-Train sees how these boys are looking at him?
I personally loved it. It was it was just an awesome redemption trail that this guy has been on, and when you in rewatching it and seeing where it goes, it's like, wow, this is not it, and it's crazy because the whole this show starts with this guy running through the main protagonist's girlfriend, and you've now gone through so much depth with this character. For me, in this moment, I'm like, wow, I feel bad for this guy. He's a product of this machine, right? That brought him to this point, and he's literally put his life on the line numerous times by this point to show, hey, man, I don't agree with this shit.
Yeah,
and he himself recognized, I could just run away. I'm the fastest man on the planet. I could run away.
Yeah, you'd never catch me.
But he didn't. He didn't.
Well, I love how
he then starts in Sprite. Huh?
Him and MM have that conversation, right? Where MM tries to leave, and he's like, sorry, it's about to come up here."
It comes up later. It comes up later.
Yeah,
it comes up later. But still, he just continues to push it, despite the fact that, like, man, every moment he's around, any moment he's around anyone, because even did he already have the conversation with Huey? The forgiveness conversation?
Yeah, the forgiveness. Yeah, that was I think that was like episode 4 or 5. It's after he brings him the V.
The V.
And then he's like,
do
you forgive me? And he's like, I wasn't going to, but I do. And they shake hands. And it's like, oh, this is the beginning of the redemption arc. And then this is the apex point we've been waiting for. Like, it's like, oh, someone finally looked at him and was like, you helped. And that was it. Like,
and that's when he says later on that's the first time he ever didn't hate himself, actively hate himself. So it shows you what's going on in that man's mind. Ryan finds a gift from Butcher under Homelander's tree, a picture of Butcher and his mother, Becca. That's Sly Dog. He smiles. Meanwhile, MM gives his ex-wife Monique $10,000 and tickets to Belize. First of all, Belize isn't Belize a code word for like death? I think I'm thinking Breaking Bad too much. Belize.
It's a country in Central America.
Oh no, totally. But whenever I hear like the homeboy went to Belize, I think he went to Belize. Tahiti. Oh yeah, Tahiti. So she's like, just come with me. Come with me to Belize anyway. And he's thinking about it. A-Train finds Ashley watching BNN on Cameron Coleman's death. She tries to convince A-Train to run away to Florence with her, knowing Homelander will discover their involvement in the leak. But he's like, no, I'm not going to do it. It seems like he might have thought about it for a second there, but he doesn't choose it. Butcher, Annie, and Huey break into an apartment where Sage was seen giving files. They discover plans to assassinate Robert Singer on the 6th, but their search is interrupted by a woman who attacks Annie and Huey before running away. Is this the most disgusting display of a shapeshifter in shape-shifting history? Ripping 100%. Off the skin in chunks to show something else underneath.
Stand by. Eric Kripke, and there are many times already this show where he has shown himself to call back to another show I love, but has a much more, in my opinion, like underground or niche following, even though it lasted 15 seasons. The show Supernatural. Kripke created Supernatural and kept the show going for the initial like 5 or 6 seasons, and then he moved on, and it just kept going, despite the fact that it probably shouldn't have. But I stuck around to the end, and all these characters, a lot of the actors on this show have been from Supernatural because of
Yeah.
Kripke. The actor who played the guy who could clone himself, he played God
Splinter.
on Supernatural.
Yeah.
I was
Singer.
great to see him.
Singer, I
The
believe,
guy
is
who
another
played-
actor.
Yeah, Robert, the character who plays Bobby Singer is the name of another producer or writer from Supernatural that they used his name to create that character, and now he's the president on The Boys. Soldier Boy. Soldier Boy is
Oh, and I think they've almost confirmed that Padalecki is showing up
Yeah.
soon.
But
He'll be in season 5.
Padalecki. He hasn't said what or how, but now that his show
Looks like
Walker
it's
got canceled, he's
Oh.
like, yeah. He's like, let's
It looks
go.
like it looks like they're doing another like speedster, another Flash like character they might be doing with him.
Yeah,
Which would make
and
sense that
Jeffrey-
they're gonna fill in the ranks for A-Train now that he's
Jeffrey D. Morgan, played their dad. He's now on The Boys. It's great. I want to see all these people get back together. So, and then this character in particular was a shapeshifter on, not the actor itself, but the character was a shapeshifter on Supernatural. It was this, I forget what they called it on Supernatural, but they would rip their skin off to become someone else. So when I'm
Ew.
watching it, I'm like, oh, Kripke, you son of a bitch. I love it. You're even calling back your own horrific creations. It's not just your actors. So when I saw it, for me, it was just like, a Supernatural, like, giddy moment. And I hope other Supernatural fans got it, because like you said, you're like, oh my God, this is the most horrific way to show a shape changer. No, we've seen this before.
Yeah, I was like, this is sick.
Yeah,
This
Go
is
watch Supernatural.
because she's like
Go watch
she's like
Supernatural.
ripping
It's on
off parts and like throwing it against the wall. Like she's just
Yeah.
ripping off chunks. I was like, oh, this is crazy. So the fleeing woman steals clothes from an elderly woman, peels off her skin, morphing into a new form, gets away. A-Train visits MM, questioning why he wasn't at the apartment with Butcher, Annie, and Huey. A-Train reminds MM that leaving the country won't stop the war against Soups, claiming it will all come to Belize eventually. Frenchie and Kimiko watch over Samir, who reveals Butcher's bizarre behavior, including talking to himself. I really like that conversation because, I mean, well, MM's right. His father and his grandfather all died in this soup war, this weird fucking soup war. So he doesn't want to be another casualty to it. He doesn't want his family to be casualties to it, and I can't blame them for that at all. Homelander and Firecracker confront Web Weaver because they're like, oh, you have to have been the leak because somebody else was wearing your suit. And this entire time, he's just spraying webs, I guess is what we'll call it.
Yeah.
Web Weaver admits to lending his suit to Butcher, but denies leaking information. Homelander kills Web Weaver, horrifying Firecracker. He literally, like, separates his shoulder from his body. Like, he grabs his head and his shoulder, and he just rips him in half. Very much a Mortal Kombat-esque, a Mortal Kombat-esque fatality, if you will, which is very fitting because he made his debut in the most recent Mortal Kombat. Homelander did. So, and another instance of, my heart is getting enlarged for this guy.
Right. Mm-hmm. Well, this is where you see it on her face. That internal struggle now is real. She's already kind of been adjacent to it, but it hasn't been so close to the point where now she's potentially seeing, oh, this shit could be directed at me, because she knows she's like, there's no way this guy's the mole. This guy's a crackhead moron.
He's an addict.
Yeah.
So what's to stop me from being this next person? Where it's like, oh, you're the mole because you knew Sage. What?
Yeah. It's not great. Frenchie tries to talk to Kimiko, who's angry about his refusal to accept help. Kimiko reveals that she lost her voice after killing another girl in the Shining Light camp. They agree to free Samir after he completes the virus, despite Butcher's demands. I also love that, like, he's like, how am I supposed to fucking make this virus in this barn? And Frenchie's like, Are you kidding me? I made better viruses in the toilet in prison. And I'm like, okay, all right.
The mad scientist continues.
Mhm.
It's just, I love it.
He gonna get it right. Ambrosius is tired of this shit, and she confronts the Deep about his affair with Sage. I know you've been sleeping with somebody else. I can smell her on you, and I seen the text, and you keep saying you're going off to work. So he's like, you know what? I'm gonna break your fish tank and suffocate you to death. But it doesn't. It takes quite a long time.
Yeah, it's uncomfortable.
I think he thought it was more instant than it was. Almost like a fish. It'll flop around for a couple seconds, and then it'll kind of be out. She's like, I'm dying. I'm dying. Oh, I love you. And why would you do this to me? Why? Like literally just most drawn out death ever. Poor Ambrosius. She did nothing wrong. But fall in love.
But loved, yeah.
Yeah, but love. Huey tries to reason with Newman to step away from Homelander's plot, but fails. Butcher and Annie return to the boys' office to find the Deep and Black Noir waiting, and I say, oh, they are dead. Because Butcher has no powers, seemingly, and Annie's not been great about her powers. So I'm like, what the hell is going to happen? A-Train shows up. All of a sudden making his allegiance known to other members of the Seven. This is a huge moment for the character. Because now other people in the Seven know that he was the leak. A fight ensues, and A-Train and MM help defeat them. A-Train rushes to Ashley's office, asking her to run away with him now that the Deep and Black Noir knows that he's the leak, but she's like, nah. And oh, by the way, if you're gonna leave, take out your tracking chip. I was like, oh, that's kind of nice. That she let him know that.
She could have left as well.
What I like in this, and this is this is in a scene that we saw where, because Noir also gets galvanized by the Deep. The Deep is also a person that's like, yo, bro, kill who the fuck you want. Like, doesn't matter. He's also a bad influence on him. And at one point, Black Noir tells the Deep, you know I could fly? Like, I could fly. And they're not even using that skill. So he flies in this, and they're like, oh my God, he can fly. It's like, yeah, showing off, man. He's showing off. Firecracker tries to comfort Homelander after learning A-Train is the leak. Sage reveals that she knew A-Train was the leak, but that was part of her plan all along to spread misinformation. Homelander fires Sage. Samir tries to escape by stabbing Kimiko with the virus. They said they were going to free him too. See that? So it'd be your own. It'd be your own. Frenchie amputates her leg to prevent the virus from spreading. Talk about a gnarly scene there.
Oh, yeah, he was cool. It was awesome.
It's not only the gore, but the fact that they're on a ticking clock.
This leg on a ticking clock, and the way he preps her, like, look, just look at this, or just bite this, and it's just completely not really working, but she's still just playing into it, like, yeah, fuck it,
it's not a buzzsaw. He's like manually sawing.
Yeah.
It's not
and Frenchie's not Butcher. Like, I think Butcher could have done it in like four motions, but Frenchie's not Butcher, so I got to.
That's probably why they call him
I'm a lover, not to butcher,
Oh, I got some tendon in my mouth. It's not great. So they present the amputated leg to Butcher, but they're unaware of whether or not it's strong enough to kill a soup like Homelander. During the live broadcast of the Avenue V Christmas special, Ryan calls out Vought and tells the kids to love and respect their parents and trust their parents. Butcher watches proudly from the bar before collapsing. He also tells Kessler, like, see, that's why I trust the kid. And then he passes out, and Kessler, his imagination laughs at him for passing out. Annie steals Huey's laptop after seducing him, and we find out, she's actually the shapeshifter. She knew how to take down his defenses showing up in that Starlight outfit. She knew what the deal was. He wasn't going to ask no questions. The real Annie is chained up in a room somewhere, unable to escape. Ashley remembers that the woman who asked for a selfie with her in the bar had ambushed and drugged her. She then hears a creak in the floor. And this would be our last episode that we cover. The TV announces training A-Train is scrapped. They're getting rid of all of it. But guess what? They're going to get a tax write-off. Just like Batgirl, just like Acme and Coyote. So it doesn't matter. And they air a controversial All Lives Matter PSA. The boys come up with a plan. MM pushes Frenchie on the virus from Kimiko's leg. Kimiko confesses her feelings to Frenchie, and they kiss. So it looks like all's good on that front. Huey gets engaged to quote unquote Annie, who's the shapeshifter, gives her his mother's ring, I think. Later, Annie bolts. Oh no, sorry. Gets engaged with her. Yeah. Butcher's health starts to worry everyone. He's haunted by Joe Kessler, urging him to embrace suit powers for genocide. Homelander wrecks his place, finding Ryan's gift from Butcher, sparking a showdown. Ryan flees in fear. Meanwhile, Annie faces off with the shapeshifter in captivity. The whole plan is to protect the president, because the idea is that Homelander is going to try to kill the president so that Victoria Newman becomes the acting president, because she was his vice president, and thus she will be in the pocket of Homelander, in the pocket of Vought, in the pocket of Soups. They want to put Soups on every state, and they want to stop stop defunding the Soups and all that, every other co-option of every other social situation in the last couple of years. It's not good. But they realize that who could be possibly behind this assassination is the shapeshifter. And when Annie starts to act a bit weird, it tips off Huey. So he tells MM. MM is not cool or calm about it. He has tells that he knows. She kind of figures it out, and she bolts when she realizes that she's been made.
She doesn't just bolt. She starts beating the shit out of
and
people.
ripping people's throats out, all kinds of shit.
Again, it was, you looked in that room and like, I know who's gonna die. Red shirt.
They're not named. They don't have a name. They're dead. Yeah, that's it. Like,
I think Butcher asked Huey to go to a Hooters or something for him, because he always wanted to go to a place where the women have their tits out and they're serving.
Yeah. He didn't say tits. I love how much Scottish slang I'm learning from this show, because he called them like their baps or some shit like that. Like, sweet, I gotta use that.
Where those broads come out with their baps out, I hand you a cold one. We see that Firecracker's medication is starting to affect her. Even funnier, Homelander is not down with it, even though he knows why she's sick. She coughs and he's like, "Yeah, go down the table. No, further down."
And then she like moves one chair, and he's like, he doesn't even keep saying it to her. He just stares at her like, "Bitch, you know what I meant."
And she looks awful. Absolutely awful. All the colors drained from her face. Her mascara's running because she keeps like throwing up and crying and coughing, and her heart is probably 5 times the size it was when all this started. Go ahead.
But see, the thing that I was thinking with this, I was starting to think, and it still might come true, is that she somehow has created another virus, and is like, she's like patient zero for some other fucked up virus that she unintentionally has created.
The simian flu.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
It's like
absolutely crazy. Yeah, and is there any sympathy for her in this instance?
No, she did it herself. I mean, it's again, you lie with dogs, you're gonna get fleas. My parents are living somewhere; they're very happy right now that I said some shit like that. But,
hey, carried on.
But no, yeah, she kind of got what she's deserved, what she's been doing the whole time. I mean, she's sided with who she sided with, and now it's finally coming home.
That's it.
Yeah,
that's it. Because she's seen what could potentially be turned on her.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So here she is. The only thing I'm wondering is what's going to happen to her now, because the last time we see her is she's in a.
I'm of two different minds, because you see her damn near throwing out her guts at one point, but then at the end of this is played over her on Vought News,
right,
looking healthy. So I don't know if that was a former episode or what, but it's this idea that like, oh yeah, he kills all these people, but he won't kill me. Oh yeah, he's terrible to all these people, but he won't be terrible to me. Everyone feels safe under the umbrella until Homelander turns his head in their direction. And in this one instance, she completely saw that all of her worth is now zilch. Because if she can't get healthy, and if she can't produce this milk, she's no worth to him. And so things are gonna start unraveling very, very, very fast. Homelander clashes with Newman. They argue. So Newman's like, okay, screw this. I'm going to. Oh no, Homelander and Newman go on the news, and Newman is still hiding that she's a soup. But Homelander's not. Fuck that. You are a soup. Instigates her showing her powers by shooting lasers in her face, and so she uses her power to kind of make herself invulnerable, and outs her as a soup. So Singer gets certified to Congress, and the boys decide they're going to protect Singer from the shapeshifter. Like I said, it was Annie. Annie's fucking ripping throats, all kinds of crazy. But our Annie ends up actually saving her. I found a term, degloved is a term used for when people rip the skins out of their hands when they pull them from cuffs. Because you're degloving. Mm-hmm. She degloves herself to get out of this situation. What do you guys think of her little talk with herself? Any redemption?
I thought it was great. Well, one, I want to get into this. Do you realize that the shapeshifter looks like Annie from seasons 1 and 2?
You're not the only person to say that. That's quite interesting.
So I'm wondering, I would love to find out because I've not researched this. I don't care to deep dive into these things as much as I like to spread news. How funny would it be if we found out this whole thing was a
CGI thing?
A CGI
like a psyop? Or like a publicity stunt, right? And all the pictures that are being shown are modified, and she actually still looks like. Because why would they do this unless they want? Why?
Well, there's a scene that a lot of people were making fun of where she's looking at her old Starlight pictures and looking kind of sad. And people were like, "This is just the jokes right here." Like this is the jokes right here. But
why would they make? I mean, because it's not like other movies where you've seen that. Oh, in order to distinguish between the clones, they do something. They like it's a different shirt or a different pair of shoes. They already have different outfits when they eventually are in any scene where they're contending with one another. But the fact that they went out of their way to make her look like the old Starlight, why? Unless the CGI people weren't in on it. You know, like,
I will tell you,
to make this.
I will say this: her as the shapeshifter is my favorite part of her acting on this season.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know what it was. But there was a level of sass, a level of power, a level of everything that for some reason they didn't give Annie, the character, in this season. But her as a shapeshifter, she was really, really good at playing evil, bad, condescending, threatening, all those very terrible emotions. She was really, really good at that shit.
Yeah, and I heard like she was well aware of the way to play a sociopath, like with the way her eyes would twitch, the way she would move her hands. Like she really got into this character, and you could tell like this actors like when they play a character one way and then they're told, hey, this episode you get to play the character the whole other way.
Yeah, flip it.
Actors, because it's a freedom. It's like, oh, I get to do something new and different. So for her, it's like, okay, and then knowing that this character's probably not going to be around, okay, so I'm going to really take it off the rails because I only get to do this for an episode or two. So yeah. She killed it. She killed it. And in a lot of ways, she was probably directed, hey, look, this is your inner demons. You're literally
100%.
Well,
so just go with it.
With the power loss, it was almost like she couldn't choose trying to figure out who she was. So her powers went with her until she could figure out who she was. And then she, I guess, like you said, was literally fighting her demons. And so as she overcomes it, it's almost as if her powers are not immediately back, but definitely are on their way back because she overcame this whole literally dark version of herself.
Murdered the worst parts of herself right then and there. Killed evil Starlight. Ryan is visiting Butcher, and Butcher's Grace Mallory is also there, and Grace Mallory lets it slip that they're keeping Ryan there in this like impenetrable fortress. Ryan doesn't like that idea. He pushes Grace, kills her, and walks out because he realizes that they are all planning to use him to kill Homelander, and he doesn't want to do it. So that's not great there. Homelander plots to eliminate the centers. He's like, screw it, we're gonna kill everybody who isn't down with us. Project 2025, we're getting rid of everybody.
Jesus.
We're getting rid of everybody not on not on the boat. And he's telling Ashley this, and then they're like, "Oh yeah, put Ashley on the list." And then put Ashley. He hand writes Ashley's name on the top with the deep.
What's her last name?
No one knows her last name.
I don't know. And there's like 20 Ashleys here.
Yeah, that was the joke of the last season, was that Ashley had a assistant named Ashley. Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So later on, when Noir kills Ashley, he's like, I killed her. I already found her. He's like, no, that's not her, bro. She wasn't even on the list. She wasn't even on the list. She wasn't even on the list.
Yeah.
We get a Scott Summers moment with in X-Men 97, Scott Summers was caught sleeping with Madeline Pryor in his mind, and got a ringing out by Jean. In this, Huey gets a talking to by Annie for not recognizing the clone. I think that's a bit unfair, man. I think that's a tad bit unfair, and people need to stop giving Huey shit.
It's a tad bit unfair, but I like how quickly they rectify it when he comes out and says, "Well, boom!" When he lists out all the reasons why
he's a good apologizer. He's a good apologizer. I don't think any of that was on deck when he said what he said. But then when he thought about it, he's like,
"Well, because he did
under 20 times."
I mean, what do you expect? Like, it's really hard.
If those things really tipped him off, she would have never gotten near the president.
Well,
like he had an idea, but he did not know that it wasn't her until the whole like, oh, it's fucking hot in here, because that's exactly what she said when he saw her, the shapeshifter, the first time. She was like, oh, it's hot in here. And it's probably because they're under layers of skin or whatever fucking weird shit's going on there.
Other things kept bothering him. Like he noticed she found their keys real fast. I guess maybe today she remembered quickly or something. He was noticing, but
you never wear that Starlight outfit, but you want to now.
I think he said they slept together 10 times.
I thought he said under 20.
I think 10.
Because it was 10 days. How many times? Under 20.
Yeah.
And I was like, listen, if my wife's twin walks in here that I don't know about, and it's like, hey. And I can't tell that I shouldn't be held accountable for that.
We run on oxygen, water, and blood, and all the blood in one direction.
Right. And I like how quickly she basically forgives him by saying, does she say something like bring the Aquafresh or some shit like that?
No, she says you need to go get tested for everything because I'm not catching no super STD or whatever like that.
There you go. Which he knows is like, okay,
I'm back in the game. Yeah, she's willing to
back in the game. Right. I mean, because what do you want? What do you want in this? What do you want in this situation?
But we're Gucci. We got Starlight back. She's back. Newman's now on board. She brought her daughter. They're gonna all go and they're gonna get out Homelander. Frenchie's already done prepping the virus, so we're good to go. Newman shows up, and then well. Billy Butcher shows up, looking better than ever, looking refreshed.
Like season 1.
It's what happens when you accept who you are.
There's a theory, and I don't subscribe to it, but it's that he's being puppeteered by this thing in him.
I mean, it's possible because you're constantly seeing a squirrel around, but is it puppeteering him, or is it just basically making him realize who he is?
Or is it like his V power from all the use of V? Could it have finally embedded itself within him, and now he has a power that is whatever that is,
whatever the venom thing is, because it looks like what it looks like. Venom. So he gets a bunch of tendrils. He smacks everybody against the wall. He ramps up Victoria Newman and rips her in half. I will tell you guys, I did not see that coming. I was not even close to seeing that coming. I thought we were closing in on a pretty concise conclusion to this. I was like, we got everybody. The virus, we got all the good guys are on our side. Frenchie's out of jail. Kimiko got her leg back. MM's not dying of a heart attack. Everybody's fine. We got this. It's over. No.
And then Butcher comes to fuck it up.
I did not see it coming, but boy, did I celebrate it because she made her bed and now you die in it.
What's his beef?
What do you mean, what's his beef?
Why no compromises? He's compromised with everybody else under the fucking sun?
Because Kessler took over at this point. At this point, I don't think it's Butcher. I think it's the Kessler version of Butcher. As opposed
and is it
to
just like no soups?
No soups.
No compromising with soups?
no matter, because even when Frenchie has the gun in his face and he's like, this is gonna kill every soup. I think his face was, yeah, I'm a soup now, and I don't care that it's gonna even kill me. I
Well, the
have a
biggest thing
mission.
was Ryan. I think that was the only person he really cared. Like Kimiko and Starlight go, "Oops, that sucks for you guys." But I think Ryan was the big thing for him. And when Ryan not betrays him, but kills Grace Mallory, he's like, now he's got scorched earth now.
Yeah.
No soup is worth living here on this planet.
Yeah,
But
if
yeah,
And
that was his biggest failure right there. Is not being able to wrangle in
just
Ryan.
like I said, the extremes. Now we have these extremes. Even the extreme of Mallory, when Mallory's standing in front of the door, like, no, you're not going to stop this kid. This kid's gonna kill you. And to me, that kid left her off easy. But he just pushed her and broke her neck. I'm like, man, he could have just ran through her. He could have plastered her to the ceiling.
But it's another idea. Maybe this is the Gohan effect, right? Where he's stronger than his father, doesn't know it, you know.
It might be.
And he doesn't do that and check on her, which means that he's getting a
No.
lot better at not caring, which is
Right.
not good, you know.
it's
And
a
now
second kill too.
yeah, now he has venom on his tail, like literally. Oh, Eddie, you know, you got Kessler showing up and like, come on, you know, doing his
The
best.
key to
beating.
beating Butcher now is to give him chocolate. Just give him chocolate.
Oh yeah, yeah, it's a date his ass. So they end up. It's like I wrote that they reluctantly let him go. I don't think he gave an option. He just walked away.
Yeah,
No one could do anything to him.
They watched him kill the arguably the biggest bad next to Homelander for the past several years.
Yeah.
Stop him.
He doesn't hurt any of the boys. He can.
Yeah.
He doesn't. He uses his tendrils to kind of like keep him
He
away.
was. If Frenchie didn't just give him the gun, I think they were next.
I think that's the big question of the next season is how far he is willing to go, because you know multiple people will be standing in his way. Homelander learns Sage. Sorry, what are you
I
saying?
believe and hope that next season ends with all the soups dying. The only way to make your soups survive, the ones that everybody loves, you know, the Starlights, the Kamikos, to have them survive, is I think the mad scientist Frenchie, my man right here,
Takes away their powers.
Depowers everything.
Depowers
Soldier
them,
Boy.
or creates Soldier Boy, which we know.
You.
They-
Thought that was gone.
or what's his name creates a vaccine that he can only give it to a few people before everybody dies.
There are a ton of people still in the mix here. I think that's the biggest magic trick. Maeve, again, is still out and about. She may not be powerful, but she knows shit. You know?
And that's why I'm hoping. I like the fact that they left her out of the season, because there's no way she would have survived this season. I don't think she survives. So you have
A-Train
to
as
go
well.
out there.
I thought
He's
A-Train
out
would
there?
be our final kill, and like the fact that he wasn't there, I was like, oh, very positive. Season 5 would break my heart.
I'll ask you guys this as we wrap up. At one point, Sage tells Homelander, you know, it doesn't matter. You can get rid of me, but there's only one person you can't get rid of. Who is she referring to? You think she's talking about Ryan? Do you think she's talking about Soldier Boy? Do you think she's talking about Homelander's inner demons? She makes it a point to say, like, again, you can get rid of me and get rid of everybody else, but there's still one person you can't defeat.
I don't know. I was wondering if maybe that person was Soldier Boy, and that's the
Could
whole
be.
reason why Homelander goes and gets him, because he's like, this is the last. Who else does he go to at this point?
Well, I
Yeah.
mean, Butcher has been in his way for many years at this point. So, I mean, maybe he's the one person that, because every time he's gone to fight or they've had a head-to-head, Butcher's come out on top. Or at least
The relentlessness
Yeah,
of
like-
he's never gonna stop trying to kill you.
it's the Punisher. Like he
Yeah.
ain't gonna stop until he get until he hits his mark. And then
Well. One batch,
And-
two batch.
and now he has powers.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
Like, so,
yeah.
to what extent we'll see.
And it doesn't matter because Sage's plan worked. Homelander kind of de facto becomes president, or at least, he is the acting body of the government. Even though they have a president, he's a patsy. He kind of just gives everything to Homelander. So they declare martial law and vow payback. We see the boys, no matter where they are. Mother's Milk gets taken by Love Sausage, his favorite, his old
guy.
homie, his favorite guy. Kimiko doesn't get taken, right? Don't they just take Frenchie?
They take Frenchie.
Well, they have
It was
her. They have
Restrained?
her restrained.
Restrained,
So
yeah.
By
you have to assume they're not
Sam.
going to just let her escape. They're probably going to bring her somewhere else, but separate. Because I bet you it looks like the way she hypnotizes him. They recognize that, hey man, this guy's useful. So they're probably taking him to do something.
Yeah.
Whereas Kimiko is like, yeah, you're another hired hand, so we'll find something for you to do.
But it is in this moment that Kimiko speaks for the first time. She yells out no.
Yep,
Very heartbreaking.
She does the Anakin the Darth Vader
no. I like that those two are seemingly going to run away together, and then Kate shows up and she's a jerk. Again, if they are being held to be restrained, we know again that Homelander wrapped up and grabbed up all those I keep wanting to see Gen V. I keep saying Gen Z. Gen V kids are also being restrained somewhere. Mm-hmm. So I think it's just a matter of getting these people on the same page. Very similar. Victoria Newman had a conversation with Marie Moreau, the star of Gen V. So she knows about Victoria. She knows about Red River. She knows about all this kind of stuff. So I think we're just going to be connecting all those dots there. Yeah. And last but not least, Starlight manages to escape using her powers. She can fly again. She can fly. I thought,
not just fly, but she flies beautifully.
She's out there.
It reminded me of like the first time we saw Iron Man fully fly.
Yeah.
Where she takes off.
I thought of it as Captain Marvel, but that was good. That's like also a good reference point.
Yeah, break the speed barrier. Yeah. Pew! So yeah, very awesome stuff. Obviously now our boys are in some bit of a trouble. A little bit. So we'll be dealing with that. I probably won't get another season for 2 years. Next year we'll probably get Gen V season 2. Mm-hmm. Gen V. I think I said it right this one time.
I messed up. I meant to get in front of you.
Gen V season 2. And then we'll be seeing what happens with the rest of this stuff. But there are less and less good guys as we continue this. But there's a lot of people, like I said, still in the mix. Like I said, Soldier Boy's still in the mix. Maeve's still in the mix. A-Train's in the mix. Grace Mallory's dead. New Noir's in the mix, yeah. I was kind of.
Did we say the Deep?
The Deep.
I mean, really, the whole 7.
Yeah, Sam and Kate are still around. Who knows who they're gonna make up for the next season of Gen V to fit in the puzzle pieces for what goes on here in the future?
I wonder if we get a return of Newman's daughter.
Zoe is her name, right?
She
went to the Red River.
She went to, which is like. Yes,
it's like the pipeline.
I hate this character. I hate this fucking character.
That's all she wanted was for her to never go there, and she went there.
That's what happened. And that's what. Yes, because she started popping heads for no reason other than power. Other than power, she started popping heads.
I feel like with that Joker meme, people died and you're laughing. You're laughing. You're laughing.
Yes, because man. She had, if she would have just let that, what was his name? The scientist?
Samir?
Yeah. No, before, earlier seasons.
Vogelbaum?
The one that was going to testify. Vogelbaum. If Vogelbaum testifies, man, just like you said, how many times are we going to avoid, is Homelander going to avoid the bullet? He avoided the bullet because of her. Starting to pop heads in Congress. Yeah. So why did she make that power play other than because, just like Ashley.
No, she was saving her dad. Well, her adopted dad.
Whatever.
She's wrong. I think that's my rationale.
Yeah. But you're right. She almost kind of just lengthened the season. Like she just added a season to the show because
she's like,
she just lengthened.
I don't want him to go to prison yet.
Yeah, she just lengthened things out. Oh, and Stanley Edgar's out there, and you got to believe he knows the original Recipe V stuff, or where all the at the very least he knows where the bodies are buried. And once he finds out that what the person that he calls like the worst product, might have had something to do with Victoria dying. I don't know how he'll find out it was Butcher. He might think it's fucking Homelander. Because last he saw Homelander laser beam her in the face on TV.
Yep, so that was great. That was a great scene.
He might think that Homelander was behind Newman dying, and thus will help the boys kill Homelander. Stanley Edgar will. So yeah, all of this is going to come to a close. Maybe the zombie body of Stormfront shows up. Who the hell knows? This show has always been a grab bag of ridiculous and disgusting and depraved moments. But we're rounding it out, man. Eric Kripke has his vision. It will be finishing up this very last season, season 5, which, like I said, will be coming in a couple years. But you guys will have to be here to find out if we're going to cover it, which we will. You don't got to be here to find that out. We're going to cover it. Just make sure you stay tuned.
It's already on the schedule. It's already on the schedule.
It's already on the schedule. It's already on the schedule. Also already on the schedule, the biggest blockbuster of the summer, Deadpool and Wolverine, comes out. As we are recording this, it comes out tomorrow. By this time tomorrow, I would have already seen it. But we are doing a week spoiler ban on ComicBookClique Thursday. Well, we'll be doing the live show. If you tune into the live show, that will be what it is. But on the official page, we'll start posting memes and stuff like that a week out. So next Thursday. So you guys have some time to watch the film, have some time to possibly watch The Boys and catch up with this. But we're covering all kinds of stuff. So just make sure you are tuning into all things that are happening at ComicBookClique.com. It's the one stop for all things Comic Book Clique. It's our merchandise, our store, articles written by us. We do a lot of good work there. This is where we share our time with Dirt Sheet Radio. Friend of the show, Jonathan Escudero, is doing amazing things in the world of professional wrestling and pop culture, and he is killing it. He's helping us grow our audience, because it turns out people who like people in masks and wrestling like people in masks and superheroes as well. So there seems to be a bit of a cross promotion there. So I think that's pretty cool. We're all over. The podcast is available wherever podcasts are found. Facebook.com/ComicBookClique. Instagram @ComicBookClique. You can use the hashtag ComicBookClique to talk about the newest, hottest, latest, and greatest things to come to comic books and comic book media. We're also at Major Issue CBC on Twitter and at Major Issue CBC on Twitch. So consider following us over there. I'm never going to call it X, so you guys are going to have to deal with that as well. We have over 300 episodes of the Major Issues podcast available. Wherever podcasts are found, Podbean, Stitcher, Podcast Addict, the Apple Podcast app. But just go to comicbookclick.com, where over 300 of those episodes currently live and breathe. Go ahead and check out our past season reviews of The Boys and Gen V, which our boy All-Star Asa was on. We have a patreon.com/CBC Clubhouse, where for as little as 10 cents a day, $3 a month, you can help us keep on our lights on here and afford the hardware and the software we need to keep providing content free of charge. We do this labor of love each and every week. The recordings happen randomly, but we drop the audio episodes of the podcast on Thursday. So tomorrow, this will be coming out in audio form across all podcast catchers. This is just an opportunity for you guys to not only hear us early on, but be engaged and talk back with us during our views on this. So you have to follow us at facebook.com/comicbookclick to be a part of these live shows and these live recordings of Major Issues. It's a new development, but I'm super excited for it. And also, we have major previews, where once a month, we go ahead and go through the solicitations and tell you guys what you guys should be reading, the issues you guys should be picking up in the very next month. We're doing all kinds of crazy stuff here, and our tendrils are in many different pots. But I also would like to say, if you people out there are fans of manga or even fantasy stories, you should check out a podcast where they do 2 different campaigns. One is a little bit more sci-fi, called Tales of Labyrinth, and the other is a classic D&D adventure set in the Forgotten Realm called Thrones. This all takes place by Forge D20, Forge Your Destiny, and you can find those guys at Forge D20 Podcast, twitch.tv/Forge20 or Forge D20, and IG Forged 20 Podcast. Those guys are doing some killer stuff over there as far as fantasy D&D. I know I like to role play. I just don't like no snail trails on my face. But you guys can go ahead and follow those guys there and follow us where we are doing our things. Boys, do you have anything you guys want to plug?
Guys,
you go ahead.
Okay, go, Asa, you go ahead.
Man. Starting next month, I'm going to be starting up a game stream once a week, guaranteed. Hopping on every now and again up until then. You can follow me on Twitch at CBCASA, and I think my official day will be when Concord launches. So
awesome.
Look out for me there.
Amazing stuff. Some major gaming, if you will, going on over there. Gang.
That's gonna be like your game, Concord, the new game that's coming out.
I'm excited about that. I'm gonna let that warm me up until Marvel Rivals. Everyone get these hands.
Oh, that would be fun.
So very nice.
That'll definitely be fun.
Awesome.
Would you plugging something?
Yes. As always, I plug Ace the Cog now, sir.
Yes. Sorry.
I plug of course, the source material, as always. if you guys think The Boys crosses the line, this gets way
Read the
worse.
comic. Yeah, the comic is
Mhm.
way. It has none of the heart. It has none of the heart that the show
None of it.
does.
None of it. None of it. None of it. Just to give you an idea, Tech Knight is the Iron Man of this world, and he dies by having sex with a meteor. So,
Yeah.
yeah, there you
He has
go.
a tumor in
There
his
you go.
brain that makes him constantly want to hump things, and he sexually
Yes.
assaults his butler. So yeah, there's all that and more
All
in The
types of-
Boys. None of that and more in these episodes of the podcast. But make sure that you guys are joining us next week for the biggest talk of the summer, Deadpool and Wolverine. Thank you guys for tuning in this far. And there's only one thing left to say, and that is, my name is George Serrano, aka the Don.
I'm Alex Garcia, aka The Cog.
CBC All-Star Asa Griffith.
And this is our The Boys Season 4 recap and review. And remember, whether you like a little bit of Octopussy, like something in your web hole, want to slip something into a shapeshifter, or just like it all vanilla like I do, remember that we are the Clique. And always remember that you, yes, you, are worthy. See you guys.